I want to note that public access to meeting is either people can attend our meetings or we also stream online. We also tape our meetings, and so if someone can't be with us tonight, they have the ability to take a look at it at their leisure. So we will move into the meeting opening and roll call. So we need roll call and verification for it.
Ms. Bushman?
Here.
Ms. Mercer?
Here.
Mr. Kowalski?
Here.
Mr. Pope?
Here.
Mr. Liebrick?
Here.
Ms. Potter Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Summers?
Here.
Mr. Leapak?
Here.
Ms. Erler?
Here,
We have a quorum.
we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So our first item on the agenda tonight is our Mandana Bliss Award. The Mandana Bliss Award is a symbol of our deep appreciation for the unwavering commitment and outstanding efforts demonstrated by our staff members for educational excellence in the Stevens Point Area Public School District. It is named in honor of Mandana Hill Bliss, Stevens Point's first school teacher and trailblazer, whose exceptional service and dedication continue to inspire us all. This award lends us the opportunity to shine a light on remarkable contributions made to this district by our staff and recognize their exemplary service. And our students actually are the ones who nominate our Mandana Bliss Award members. So I will turn it over to Corey to talk about that.
Thank you, Meg. This month we are honoring social studies teacher Greg Miller. He's a teacher at our Point of Discovery School. I'm going to ask him to come forward, and he's going to be given this award by a student, Tommy Akshuda, who is a 10th grader. Please come forward. Right here.
Say a few words here. Thank you. I believe that Mr. Miller deserves this award because of his outstanding performance in every play, class, lesson, etc. He dresses up for everything, making his classes very interactive and fun every lesson, which greatly impacts the number of students who listen. He is always kind and understanding, never raising his voice unless necessary. Because of these factors and many more that I can't even say with everything, because of all those things, you don't just learn things in his classroom, you remember them to every last detail. He tests every teaching method to find the best formula, which furthers his ability to keep things interesting. And he doesn't just teach using the eye. He uses every sense in your body. He has you taste food from around the world or touch a soft pelt brought in from, well, who knows where. And no matter what is happening throughout the day or in his class, you know it's going to be fun. Thank you.
Congratulations. Would you like to say a few words? No?
Sure.
I've never seen you speechless.
Well, here I'm at a school board meeting. I got to be very careful about what I say. Well, might I say, number one, what a fine plaque this is. Some people ask why you get an education. Me, it's all about the plaques, especially ones that are laminated with a nice faux leather border here. I am absolutely loving it, and I will be more than happy to put it on the wall in my classroom and tell everyone about it. But I'm so thankful to Tommy and all my students. Really, again, that's the whole point and purpose of why we are here. And again, especially at Point of Discovery School, a big thing of what we're doing is trying all those different educational techniques and hopefully finding one that resonates with each and every student. That's kind of one of our role at Point of Discovery School, and hopefully our role in the district as well, kind of going to try to make every student successful. So the honor is given from the students to me, so I am very, very thankful and thank the board and Ruth Brenner and everybody else for the fantastic award. So thank you guys. I'm very honored.
So we're going to take a picture
Oh.
of both of you, and then we're going to have you walk around and shake all the board members' hands.
Oh, wow. I don't wash my hands.
Come on, tell me.
Oh, Mr. V gets in on it too. Good.
Yeah.
Gotta have someone good looking in this picture, you know.
All right, me? Thank you.
That was fast.
Yeah. Oh.
Thank you guys. Oh, and thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. Thank you so much. Yes? Thank you. I hope that students kicking butt and taking names as well. That's what I live for. Thank you so much.
Well done, Greg.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. This is like 6 p.m. You see me during the day. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Might be double. That's Danielle.
All right, one more round of applause. All right, we now move into public comments. We allow public comments via email. Did we do this?
No.
All right, we also allow public comments by people who are in attendance tonight.
No
Did
one
we have
signed up.
anybody sign up? Is there anyone here this evening that would like to provide public comment to the board who did not get signed up? All right, we will then move into our student senate representative report by Lily.
Well, everybody, it has been a busy month. So first off, good evening everyone, and I hope you all had a wonderful February. To kick us off, we will start with our music department. Once again, they will be very busy this month. Orchestra had a concert on the 3rd that went very well. Tomorrow there will be a choir concert at 7:30 p.m. in the Spash Auditorium. There will be a band concert on the 12th at 7:30 in the Spash Auditorium as well. And the Spash students, musicians competed in 120 events at the Regional Solo Ensemble Competition, with 45 of those events receiving the rating of 1, which qualifies them for the State Festival in May. Congratulations to all of our musicians for their impressive performance. The College and Career Fair will be held in the Spash Fieldhouse on Wednesday, March 11th from 2 to 4 p.m. This event is an outstanding opportunity for students to meet with over 100 colleges and technical colleges, local businesses, and military representatives. The ACT will be held at Spash for our juniors on March 25th, along with a pre-ACT for sophomores to prepare them for the actual test. While students are doing that, seniors will be home having an e-learning day. Spash's Razor Voice Club attended the NAMI Youth Advocacy Day in Madison this past Friday, where they spoke with staff members from senators and representatives about increasing funding for in-school mental health support and helping fund the 988 hotline and its workers. Spash is having its annual prom dance on Saturday, April 11th. The theme is going to be Vegas. Welcome to the fabulous Spash prom at the Holiday Inn from 8 to 11. And rumor has it that Elvis may come and join the party around 8:30. Now we can get into the amazing things that Spash sports teams have been doing over the past month, especially this weekend. Congratulations to the boys swim team and those who qualified for state. Everybody did great. We had our first ever state qualifier for the girls wrestling team during the last weekend in February, which is so cool and amazing. Congratulations to Nava Cabral. Girls basketball had a wonderful season. They are now 4-time conference champions, 2-time regional champs, and they were able to make it to the sectional finals. Boys basketball also had a great season. They ended up tying for first place at conference. Unfortunately, their season has been cut short due to their loss in the playoffs this past weekend. The girls and boys curling team also made it to state, which was also held on that last weekend in February, with the girls group placing second and the boys group taking third. The girls gymnastics team has been doing great this season as well. They qualified for team state and many players qualified for individual state, which was held this past weekend. They ended 5th in this team state competition and had 3 girls medal at the individual state meet. Congratulations to all who participated. As I'm sure many of you know, our boys hockey team made it to state this season, which is awesome for them. They were able to make it to the championship game, but unfortunately ended up losing in a tough match against Edgewood. Congratulations to everyone who participated and all those who came to cheer them on. Lastly, as our winter sports are coming to a close, spring sports are ready to get out there. Track started today and many other sports will be starting later in March. Good luck to all who participate. Thank you for listening to the Spash update for the month. Have a wonderful spring break.
Thank you, Lily, and you, Lily. Have a wonderful spring break.
Thank you.
I attended that solo and ensemble, and those teachers are saints. That is a lot.
It is a lot. Some pretty talented students.
Amazing. I got to just walk through the hallway and listen, and it was phenomenal.
Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Lily.
All right, we will move into the communication report. Sarah O'Donnell.
Hello. There we go. All right, communication report. So let's start off with just some of the coverage we were able to provide throughout the month of February. We had some unique and new stories, such as talking about our CKLA curriculum. Our district earned a gold level family-friendly workplace certification, so that is very exciting, and kudos to human resources staff for the work they did to make sure that was something that we could highlight. Able to highlight Project Search. If you've not seen that video, it is fantastic. I highly recommend you go and find it. It just does a really nice job of highlighting what those students are doing in those internships and kind of seeing firsthand what that program looks like. And we're able also to highlight some of those monthly and annual favorites, such as Annual Art Show, our Mandana Bliss Award, Hoops and Heroes, which is that luncheon where SPASH brings in our first responders. Certainly celebrating Nava and her historic opportunity to go to state. And then I'm really excited to have PODS opening up an expedition preview day again. They have not done that in quite some time. So bringing students in to see firsthand what that might look like instead of typically they just do kind of on an individual tour basis, which is great, but this is an opportunity for peers to come in together and really see that. So certainly if folks are around tomorrow, they are welcome to hop over there. Looking at our website and digital engagement over the course of the month, I wanted to highlight some of our traffic and engagement on enrollment pages. And when we first look at that 4K, we're looking at all of 4K. It looks bad, right? Because I'm showing you we had a minus 77% and a minus 72% in our total views and event counts. But that's compared to the previous month, which I didn't get to highlight. I was not able to give my report last month. So I just wanted to use that as a comparison that those were up that much the previous month. So when we initially launched that campaign, we saw a significant jump there for 4K, which means basically we're doing what we would expect those to do. We're getting that job done. Enrollment at PODS is the other one we're watching very closely. Over the month, those were up 57% and 42.6% for event count. So again, we can see that we're driving folks where we are hoping to through our communication campaigns. Most visited pages for the month, I thought this was interesting. Homepage always up there. Calendar spiked on February 20th, as did staff directories on February 20th due to we had a school closure that day. So what's interesting to me there is I often have people ask me if we need to have staff directories on the webpage because people can just find information, and this tells me that yes, we do need to have staff directories on the webpage. This is where people are finding information. And then academic courses for SPASH was number 3 there, and I wanted to just highlight that. I have that on the other side on the right of the screen there. We rebuilt the SPASH course. You may remember in years past, we haven't printed it in a while either, but it was kind of this fat, thick PDF that then was just this huge PDF on the website. Tough to search, tough to find things, and not even a little bit accessible. So we spent quite a lot of time working with Brent and his team at SPASH and our team here to have something that is now searchable by grade, you could see what AP classes, you can see what prerequisites they have, you can kind of look through those pathways, filter by department. So we're really excited and really proud of this. We think this is a huge improvement for the website and for the community, and we're excited that it's accessible. And we are replicating this, so like if you're looking at summer course catalog right now, we have the course catalog we used last year because change, right, people sometimes take some time, but we've also implemented this as well. So excited just to be able to continue to move towards that accessibility and just improve overall usage of the website for folks.
The course catalog is so user-friendly right now,
Thank you.
so thank you.
Yeah. It was honestly our pleasure. Media coverage and public relations. We had a lot of press releases issued in February. It was just a busy month. So talking about our Navigating the Digital Playground podcast, we got some good coverage there, highlighting free books received through Books from the Heart, talking about that family-friendly workplace achievement. And then we do have our student panel tomorrow, which is our kind of our culminating event for that limited series podcast, where we have some students identified just to talk to us about what it's like to be a kid on social media and online, right? We talk a lot about students, but I think actually hearing from students is certainly something I'm looking forward to. Social media engagement for the month, audiences were up across both of those two main channels. Impressions were down, engagements were down. We're certainly in that February slump. We're out of it now. It's March, it's gorgeous outside, spring break is coming. And our most engaged post for the month was highlighting NAVA. Looking back at our progress made over semester one, this was one I was hoping to share with you last month, but didn't get an opportunity to. So just wanted to kind of wrap up that this was what we had been working on, that mid-year update, referendum and budget updates, engagement and recognition. We worked through all of these except for we're still working on that WCAG 2.1 compliance by April. We're certainly on track to do that. And then continuing with our enrollment campaigns. So looking ahead, what we're working on now, focusing on that planning and alignment around really making sure that the stories we're telling align with our strategic plan, right? What we're trying to accomplish together, so we're not kind of just out there in left field. And then engagement and recognitions continue to elevate student and staff stories, building that internal capacity and support specifically around digital accessibility. We've been offering in-person and kind of online, like drop in and I'm online or Sam's online and you can talk to one of us about the accessibility trainings, or just if you have questions. Our attendance to those has significantly dropped. So we're moving now just to that, like, here's a time, book with us, you can meet with us as we continue to work through really just, we're at the point now where we're really looking at very specific documents. So like every department has a list of, hey, we noticed this is still not compliant, how can we help you, when can we meet? So really doing very targeted training instead of those large trainings. And then campaign and communications, continuing to refine those enrollment campaigns, using kind of that engagement data that we saw from semester one, knowing that those campaigns will continue to adjust as we go throughout the course of the end of the year. And that is my report.
Board members have any questions for Sarah?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to the Corey's report.
Sure, thanks, Meg. We have 2 donations to our schools again this month. The Peyton Markward gave $450 to McDill Elementary School. Madison Elementary PTO gave $400 to the Boston School Forest. And then at the Portage County Business Council annual dinner, they have a Pay It Forward program. And Jen Bushman, our very own Jen Bushman, won $1,000 and gave that back to SPASH for their Student Services Department for students in need. So thank you, Jen.
Without $1,000, but already been given to SPASH, sorry, Chief.
Thank you, Van Horn, and thanks,
Yeah,
Jen,
thank
for that.
Yeah.
Hot 96.7 Cheryl Tyler Teacher of the Month is Janessa Reed, who's an English teacher at SPASH. Congratulations to her. And I have a few updates. So congratulations, we found out today that a 2nd grade teacher at Madison, Mary Bowman, won the Portage County Business Council Golden Apple Award. She's going to be recognized at the Excellence in Education Breakfast on April 1st. So if there's any board members that would like to attend that, you need to let Nicole know by Wednesday, March 25th. Spring break is next week. Summer school registration starts the Monday, actually Sunday of spring break. So March 23rd, and it runs through April 5th. March is Music in Our Schools Month. Last week was National School Breakfast Week. We have 6 of our students that are headed to state for FCCLA. The SPASH College and Career Fair is March 11th from 2 to 4 in the field house. Skills USA members recently showcased skills at the team engineering category, and they will also head to the state level competition in April. I'm not gonna mention the athletic updates that Lily did, but we did have some clubs that also did quite well over the last month. Our curling club, girls took silver and the boys took bronze at the state meet. Bowling competed last Saturday as well as Friday and did well. And then the figure skating club competed at the state meet this past weekend also and did well. School board election is April 7th. We do have 2 board meetings in April. Our regular meeting is the 13th, and then our org meeting was scheduled for the 27th. Stay tuned, we've got a couple conflicts, so we'll get more information out to board members on their availability for that board meeting. And then the legislative dinner that Nicole has been sending you information on is April 20th. More information and a formal invite is supposed to be coming out this week. It's from 5:30 to 8 at the DC Everest Middle School. So if you can clear your calendars and are interested in attending, you'll just need to let Nicole know. And lastly, G attended a WASB Law Conference and just wanted to give a few highlights from that.
Alex was there too.
Oh.
Did you want to say something?
The law is complex and is filled with gray. Lawyers.
Sorry, Meg.
No, it was very interesting. I attended some opposite sessions. I think that G did except one maybe. And it was all about, background checks and how they need to make sure that federal law and state law and all of the intricacies there, and that was interesting. And then we also, the last one that we went to was all about students' First Amendment rights, teachers' First Amendment rights, and how and where that falls in, and it depends a lot on situation. Because there can be something that causes substantial disruption in one school, and it wouldn't cause substantial disruption in another school based on context. So how the First Amendment plays in that was very interesting and good for us to know, because sometimes we get questions from the public on this is causing disruption here, why isn't the board doing anything, and it was nice to have some more context.
Sure.
About all the grade.
About the grade, yes.
Yeah, I think to every question you could sum it up by saying the answer was it depends. The last guy was interesting, presenter, but he also, I think people went to the last one because it was like, what do you do when ice knocks? I think people were expecting to get some real answers. And we got some, the judicial warrant and the administrative warrant are different, this, but I guess they don't have to show it to you to get in. But I do think, and I talked to the guy afterwards for a few minutes, that, come on now, somebody comes to the door of a school with a mask on and a gun, or they're not getting in. And we support the people on the other side of the door not letting them in till we get some authority there that we would work with, because who knows who they are. And I think that would be a supportable position for any school, no matter who they say they are.
Thank you. Any questions of Corey? So I just want to note that this legislative dinner, I don't know if we've ever been invited to it. And I think maybe because it was being held in Medford, so maybe our legislators weren't involved in it. But this year, because DC Everest is hosting it, our legislators are going to be included in the invite. So my understanding of it is that it's a dinner, the legislators from our area are invited to come, school board members are invited, as well as our administrators. So it would give us a chance to be able to have that conversation and just communication with our local legislators in maybe a less formal setting than we might be used to. So I encourage board members, if you can make it. Again, this is the first time we've been invited, and I think it might be nice for people to come if that works with their schedule. And then the only other thing I wanted to note was I wanted to just call out the SPASH Student Senate. They had a pretty major role with the League of Women Voters Forum this past week for the forum with respect to people running for office. They were behind the scenes before, helping to create the questions, and then were also there that evening. So I just want to thank those students who were able to be part of that event.
Meg, can I ask just one comment about the meeting at DC Everest? Nicole has gotten as much information and given it out as we have, but so far it looks like Vinnie Marisi has said he would be there, but there's no confirmation anybody else will be there. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on, because I don't want to just go talk to Vinnie, you know. I'd like to talk to other people, but it's in DC Everest, which is a different legislative area than us too. So I don't know who's
Yeah,
gonna
I think it's kind of a regional dinner that they try to pull together, and we are in the region. But again, I'm assuming we'll get updates as to whether
I hope
Pat
so.
Feston's going to be there, or Derek Van Orden, or whoever from our area might be attending that.
That'd be great to check too.
Yep.
So more information on that.
Yep. All right, we will move into the facility option criteria and metrics, Point Proud Schools 2040.
Sure. And I'm going to turn it over to Mark. He's going to share some information that we've worked on over the last month, and then ask you to take action on the document that's in Board Docs. So Mark, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Corey, and good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to get you out there during sunlight hours here. I looked at the rest of your agenda, but I'll be brief. So last month you provided authorization on a document that included the project purpose and the charge of the task force. The administration has since that time been busy recruiting task force members by application, which is great. Our first task force meeting is scheduled for April 29th. We would want to hit the ground running with the task force. And we also know, based on my experience in similar projects, that we're going to need all the time we can get as the task force work heats up. So we're back to ask for another favor from the board tonight, and that is to provide your endorsement of what we're calling facility option criteria. You may remember that our task force is going to be charged with developing and evaluating a range of different alternatives for how the district school buildings will be utilized over the next few to next several years. Those options can consider things like attendance area shifts, different functions and purposes, potential grade group shifts. Really, there's a range of different variables that could be considered. However, given those range of variables and options, it's important to come with a common understanding of what the priorities are, what criteria should be used to evaluate different options and compare them in an apples to apples sort of way to each other. So what we've done in conjunction with the district's planning team is come up with a draft option evaluation criteria document that was included in your board packet. That document lays out 4 proposed criteria for the task force to use in fulfilling its charge and evaluating different options. And I'm happy to display any of and all of this as you see fit, but I assume that you also have that information in front of you.
I think I'm hoping you could display it just so if members of the public are watching us tonight, they would be able to take a look at it if they don't have ready access to packets.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping that you can now see my screen with some yellow highlighter on it.
Yep.
All right. So this is the document that was included in the packet. A lot of what I've highlighted is information that I've just shared with you regarding what this document is and what the purpose of the plan and proposal or project is. The criteria and potential quantitative metrics is what the rest of this document shares. The task force, the planning team comprised of the district came up with 4 proposed criterion that we're asking for your endorsement of, and that would be used later on in the process for the task force to utilize. The reason we're putting this forward now, again, we're trying to get ahead of the game, and we're also trying to provide clarity to everyone involved, including the board, as to what's really going to go on in this process as much as we can before actually into the process of dealing with substance. So the criterion as kind of laid out here and summarized, there are no particular order, and as proposed at least, they have each criterion has equal weight, but the first one in numerical order is fiscal responsibility. The task force would be advised to consider, in looking at fiscal responsibility, of both capital and operational costs due to are associated with each different facility option, to minimize solutions that would result in major capital expenses. Undefined at this point in time, we want to provide direction, but not necessarily handcuff a task force either. And then for each of these, we have a list of potential metrics that will work together with your administration to generate the required data for. So how much would a particular option cost and capital costs changes from the current budget? In operating costs, would a particular option help in minimizing or avoiding investing in deferred maintenance in a particular school building or buildings? If we're dealing with transportation and different options to rearrange attendance areas or other things, how is that affecting busing and how many routes or how long those routes have to run? If there are options for repurposing buildings, what opportunity might there be to realize some gain from that repurpose? That's in the fiscal responsibility category. My guess is the metrics will in particular evolve as we realize what interest the task force has and what data is readily available to collect. The second proposed criteria for the task force to use in evaluating options is efficient building utilization. This relates to the information we have presented over the past few months with an effort to reasonably balance enrollment among the schools serving similar grades, and recognizing that some schools have higher capacity to accommodate students than others. Making sure that as we consider different options, as the task force does, they plan for enrollment to be not significantly below, but certainly not above the capacities of the buildings that you have available, without assuming changes to the district's class size policy. You could put twice as many kids in each classroom and solve a lot of problems, but the suggestion here is to keep some of those variables, especially that one, fixed. Certainly we would be looking at asking the task force to look at projected enrollment, but not too far in the future. Our projections are, as is typical, generally better in the next few to several years, and then the crystal ball gets hazier over time. So the metrics fairly predictably compare the enrollment to the building capacity of each of the school buildings, and evaluate if there are any schools in a particular option above their working capacity, or any schools, we picked a number we thought worked, below 70% of their working capacity. The third of the fourth proposed criterion is how well the option maintains or enhances student opportunities. And here we start to dig pretty deeply into compatibility with the district's strategic plan and the pillars within the strategic plan. How well does the option provide a full and equal range of educational and co-curricular opportunities to students in schools serving similar grades? How well does the option support full staffing, reasonable scheduling, safe and modern learning environment would be a component of that criteria. The district planning team thought it was important to point out that this is about the core educational services that are delivered, and also athletic and other co-curriculars that are delivered through the school. And then the metrics that are to be investigated for evaluating how well that option is maybe a little bit more qualitative than quantitative, though we have methods and develop methods to evaluate the suitability for modern learning for different schools within the district along with your staff. Core building characteristics such as age, site area, whether they have a separate gym or cafeteria or not, those kind of factors may play in. Indoor and outdoor space, is it sufficient site area for outdoor learning? And then how are co-curriculars and athletic facilities addressed or within that particular option? The fourth and final proposed criterion is manageable student and family impacts. And this first elaboration of that criteria is almost taken directly from one of the pillars within the district's strategic plan. Maintain or enhance student and family engagement, growth, learning welfare, and sense of belonging. How well does the option address that? Does the option affect a lot of students or fewer students? So how many students are affected by the proposed facility option? And where there is change, making sure that changes are in appropriate groups, considering factors like number of students changing. So you're not proposing a facility option, for example, that sends 9 students out of a 400 student school to another school building, as just a simple example. We have to look at how options are allowing a logical progression from elementary to junior high to high school, and that would be a component of managing well. And that there are school buildings close or at least easily accessible to students and families, with maybe actual physical proximity mattering a little bit more at the elementary level than at secondary. Potential metrics, having attendance series that keeps particular communities of interest together, looking at if there are changes and suggestions that students would attend different schools, the number of students that would change, the smallest number changing, the percentage of students from one elementary school who would attend a different junior high school or middle school than their cohorts in the same elementary school, and how close folks are living to their school building, including measurements of anticipated travel time when there's a busing component to their journey to school. So I think with that, I'd like to pause. I will show just a preliminary, very preliminary look as to how this might be evaluated. Each of these so-called options, I have no idea what the options are going to look like, whether they're going to involve attendance area shifts or not. That's what the process does. But for each option, the task force will be provided at the meeting in which the option is discussed, those metrics as to how well that option performs. Some of them, again, will be more quantitative than others. The task force will then individually and in small and large groups be able to evaluate how well a particular option addresses that criterion relative to those statistics that are provided. And again, we'd have go through the list of the 4 that I just shared with you. This will definitely morph as the interests of the task force become apparent over the course of the late spring and particularly over the summer. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions on this information or anything else related to the process.
So we'll start with Marnie and then Alex.
So, and I am perfectly willing to be wrong on this one because I understand that we're going to the public and fiscal responsibility is what we want with this process. I would still, and I know you said in no particular order, but I would still say we're a school district and I would love to see us center 3 and 4 as 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 as 3 and 4, just in terms of how we order this, just to keep students at the center. And thank you, Liz, because that's a concept that I got from her.
So criterion 3 would be 1, criterion 4 would be 2, criterion 1 would be 3. Okay.
Yeah, the other 2, however. And again, I understand like the message, that may not be the optics we want. Like maybe we want to broadcast fiscal responsibility first because that's what we're trying to do. But I just like students and parents being at the center of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lisa.
Any concerns, board members, with flipping those? Okay. Alex?
I have a few questions. So criterion 2, 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4th bullet point says consider projected enrollment, but not too far into the future. When looking at that, we've gone down over the number of years. I wouldn't say we could predict those levels, and I think you shared with us those levels already. That we have like a 3-year, a 5-year, a 10-year. But then going with that, going to criterion 3, it says support full staffing on the second bullet point. How is that going to be brought together, knowing that we need to be also fiscally responsible to say we don't need the same number of teachers if we're going down 100, 200, 300 students a year. We can't maintain that same level of teacher. How do those two elements go together?
Do you want to answer that,
Well,
Mark?
I can start and then I'll allow others to fill in the blanks. First off, you've pointed to a challenge that particular options are probably not going to hit a home run against all of the criteria. There's conflicts among them. The second thing I'll say, more specific to your commentary, I believe the idea of supporting full staffing is not necessarily to supporting staff at the same exact level as that it is today, but to make sure each school is fully staffed in the option.
Maybe it's adequately staffed versus fully. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If we change that word, that would probably make it feel.
It would make it
Adequate would match the enrollment versus fully means potentially maintain.
That was it just seemed like they were in conflict with each other because we can't maintain what we have. And so just that qualification would be something that.
Well, and Corey, do you want to just speak to kind of, and Chris, because we're already doing
Nutrition. Yeah.
kind of this downsizing as needed. So do you guys want to talk a little bit to?
Yeah.
Sure, I can chime in a little and I'll give a little bit of an additional update on this during budget and program eval a little later in the meeting. But you know, the annual staffing process happens across all pre-K-12 levels. So I think I like the idea of saying we're adequately staffed based on projections, but knowing that we have a really comprehensive staffing process that runs every spring, that really looks at what the needs are and what declining enrollment, how it might impact all of our staffing at all elementary and all secondary levels. So I think that makes me feel a little better about the process in terms of we'll ask the task force to make projections or make decisions based on the information we have. We know those projections become less clear the further we get out, but I find comfort in knowing that on an annual basis, we are looking at those staffing needs really closely.
A couple other things. I have been asked how many people have signed up for the task force, and we have 82 people that have expressed an interest. We have more than 15 in each of the categories, so that's a good thing. It closes on Friday, so if there are people out there that are still interested, please fill out the form. Once that closes, then we'll do a random selection of the people in each category, and then we'll get the information out. Board members, once the election is over, Nicole is going to add information to that reorg survey that she sends out to say what office positions are you interested in. There will be a question, are you interested in serving on the task force? And then we'll do a random draw of those board members that are interested also. There will be 2 chosen, and they are non-voting members at the task force level because you'll vote on it later at the board level. It's
So it will be on the organizational questionnaire that goes out, but we will not be choosing those board members at the meeting. We're gonna throw everybody's name in the hat, and they'll pull as they're pulling everybody else for a random draw for the 2 that will wind up on this.
Right. It has also been mentioned, and we have not had a chance to talk to Mark and Nick about this, but we will. At some point, do we involve students or share information with students to get some feedback from them? And I think that that's a really good idea. I don't know if that's been done before, but the planning committee will work with Mark and Nick on that. I like that, like maybe student senate, maybe student councils. whatever, but we'll find a way to make that happen.
G?
Yeah, I had a question because I'm kind of doing the math in my head. We've been slowly trickling down a little bit, and I think one of the major points in doing this is how do we go through declining enrollment gracefully, instead of it being a catastrophe. But their enrollment projection, Roffers enrollment projection, we're at like 6,800 right now. They're projecting by 2040 we'll be at 5,100. When's the big drop gonna come? Because that's like 1,500 or 150 kids a year.
It's happening every year.
But it's only happening by a couple each year.
Well,
No, it's like 120.
yeah,
No, it was like 100.
Was I asleep? Because
I don't know.
every time I see the enrollment, it's going down a little bit by a little bit. What now?
120 was last year, the previous
120?
year.
Or this current year, I mean, start of this year.
Previous years before last year.
Years before that, it wasn't that big.
It was just a couple each year, right?
I think part of the
Smaller.
issue, I know we've talked about this at the board level quite a bit. The classes who are graduating from SPASH are larger than the incoming kindergarten classes. And so we can see the difference between the number of kids that are coming in versus the kids who are going out.
So we're
And
just
so each
starting.
year may be a little bit different, G, depending on
I know,
that
but
graduating class versus the incoming
in the
class.
past, I saw like we're down 5, we're down, but now Mike says we started this year. We're seeing a big
We're
drop this
seeing
year.
a more of a decline each year,
Mhm.
and it's likely gonna continue that way.
Unless
But
we have a
again-
whole bunch of people that move in the community who have kids.
Right. But then again, they're projections, so,
Right.
it's not a definite, but it's projections. And Mike has taken that into account with his budgeting for the next 5 years. MD Roffers has pretty much said the same thing, so we know we're likely not gonna grow unless we, get more students somehow.
I've been flashing information up on the screen that summarizes
There we
the
go.
projection we've shared. So, I've heard someone say, the classes that we're graduating are much bigger, and that is true. Recently, a graduating class will be in the range of 70 to 80 kids more than the incoming kindergarten class. So you should expect continued, decreases, particularly over the next few years as that phenomenon continues. We do expect enrollment decrease to moderate based on a variety of factors. You've got a recent increase of younger folks in your community. The number of births has, after dropping quite a bit, has stabilized, and we expect that those two factors will keep it relatively stable. We've got good job growth in Stevens Point, and jobs mean housing. And we do project significant housing construction through the year 2040. So we were actually projecting a decrease between 2025 and 2040 of about 500 kids total, which if you average it out over the 15-year period is about 30 fewer per year. But we realize that some years are going to be more and some less, just based on bubbles and this short-term phenomenon in particular of these big high school classes that are going to be replaced by much smaller classes.
Well, and there's also, again, right, if you can see, we're projecting enrollment projections, and I'm gonna put it out there, for K to 12. And we currently in our district have not had the space or ability to accommodate 4K, and have not had the space or ability to accommodate potential preschool, potential special needs situations with kids who are younger. So along with, there are going to be the reality of what we're facing, and there are going to be opportunities, and there are going to be concerns. And I think that's what MD Roffers is going to be helping us work through as to how we can best serve kids and families in our communities with our school buildings and with the capacity they hold.
What are we gonna have at our access for resources? I mean, we were working with maps and stuff here, making boundaries here, boundaries there. We got how many primary schools within the, the middle school, boundaries. Do we have access to any GIS or anything like that? Or, cause that would, I mean, I haven't touched it in a long time, but I mean, at least then you can just push buttons and see what happens.
Yes, we do have access, and MD Ruffers supports that work also.
And they leveraged some of that already, Jeremy, when they created the really long report.
Yeah. But for the
I read that
task
before
force,
bed, it was real riveting.
if you're wondering what's gonna happen if we do this. I mean, I know we have all the maps and stuff, but I think it'll be easy.
Agreed.
Agreed. Any other questions for Mark?
It's like highlighting all these things.
Any other questions or any other questions regarding the criteria as proposed?
So just to be clear for the community, you have roughly 80, potentially more. At what point will they be notified that they would have been selected?
Shortly after Friday.
Okay.
So probably next week sometime.
Because
We
the
want
first
April
session,
29th.
okay, April 29th, okay.
So people will be notified, people at that point will be provided with, here are the 9 dates, here are the 9 meetings, and then those who are selected will commit to those 9 meetings. I mean, because it's important that people who are choosing to sign up, not that people, might need to miss a meeting, but we really are looking for people to be willing to make that commitment to be there for the 9 meetings. And if someone who is chosen takes a look at it and takes a look at the commitment and decides that's not their up, that they just can't commit to it, then another name's gonna get drawn out of that pool. So it's really good we have more in each of our pools, because there may be some people who are initially selected who might not be able to make the commitment when they take a look at what that means moving forward.
And that's 60 total, correct? 15 from each category?
15 from each category. And it might not be next week, I forgot, next week is spring break.
Oh,
so
right.
the following week.
Well, I'll be,
Well, no, it's only 45, it's 15 from the 3 categories.
oh, 15 from 3 categories, okay.
15 from parents with students, members of the community who do not currently have students, and staff.
It's 45 plus 2
Plus
board members.
2 board members who are non-voting.
So I know you mentioned, Meg, that we were gonna use the organizational survey to poll board members, but if we're not able to have the meeting until April 27th or later, and the first task force meeting is April 29th, it might be good to do that sooner than later after the election, so that
Good point.
board
Well,
members have time
But
to.
the survey comes out in advance.
So we will know clearly after the election who board members are, so we don't need to decide that organizational. We can have those names drawn and they can be reported to us out ahead of time. We don't need to have them be part of The problem with the organizational is we can't hold it until at
Yes,
least certain-
I was just suggesting we do this earlier so
Yeah, I
that
think we should
whoever
just
it
draw
is.
them, we should reach out to board members. Well, we'll reach out with that organizational, but then Nicole can just draw those numbers right away, or names right away, and let the full board know which 2 are selected.
One more question, if we're doing random drawings for staff, how are we ensuring that we have representation from all of the buildings?
Good question. We have a really good mix right now of people from all buildings across the district. If we do a random draw and we tend to get too many from one, we'll probably set that aside and
Okay.
take another one out.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't want there just to be 2 schools or 3 schools represented.
Right, or we could just do for each building, you could do the random drawings there, so you have adequate representation across, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could categorize them somehow.
I assume we'll do a similar for community members as well?
Yep, correct.
Yep.
Based on geographic
Yep.
location.
Yep.
We're also doing with staff, ensuring that we have various categories of staff.
Elementary, middle.
Yeah, that's what I, yeah.
And then transportation, food service, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Any other questions about anything presented? All right, then. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the facility option criterion metrics as presented to guide the next phase of long-range planning related to facilities, enrollment, and programming.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
When we say as presented, we mean with the changes as presented?
Yes.
Just making sure.
Any other questions? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. All right, we now have our.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Have a good night.
Now we have our consent agenda. We have the minutes of the prior school board meeting, February 9th. Approval of the scheduled monthly bills and employment recommendations. Looking for a motion.
A motion to approve?
Second.
All right, I will ask for roll call for two bills.
Ms. Mercer? Yes. Ms. Bushman?
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski?
Yes.
Mr. Polk?
Yes.
Mr. Liebrick? Ms. Potter Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Summers?
Yes.
Mr. Leapak?
Yes.
Ms. Erler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we will move into the Business Services Committee report, and I'll turn it over to Marnie, the chair.
My update is pretty short because most of the things that we discussed in the meeting will be here. But good news, we have more money than usual at this time of year, so apparently our taxes came in well. But no, overall, the budget is trending on track. We have kind of wide variation in where we could end up, but it is mostly positive. So that would be good news. If the projection comes in towards Mike's more favorable side, then we will maybe even be able to put additional money into our general fund or into other places. So that would be fantastic, and we'll keep an eye on that through the exception report through the end of the year. And then there are several items that will all come in front of you now, and that will be Beth with the teacher and nurse contract template, and then a couple RFPs, one for audit services and one for transportation software. I will turn it over to Beth or Mike, whoever's first. Mike?
Starting with the RFP for audit.
Okay. Well, it's been 5 years since the last time we went to RFP for audit. So that was up again this year. We sent RFPs out to 5 firms. We got proposals back from 3 of them. One of them, Clifton Larson Allen, Kerber Rose and Associates, and Baker Tilly. We opened the RFPs at 1 o'clock on February 11th. That means we can't get any more after that point, so that's when it all has to be in. And then on February 12th, we evaluated and assessed the bids. We used the criteria that was in the audit RFP. We had 3 people on that team. We had myself, Jackie Schreiber, the finance manager, and Karen Kelly, purchasing and grants coordinator. Each member of the committee independently reviewed the RFPs, and we scored them. So if you look at the table, you can see the scoring. The table has evaluation of proposals, technical points average, and then cost total points average. So the 2 firms that scored the highest were CLA and Kerber Rose. Kerber Rose was the least expensive of the 3 firms, but the 2 that scored the highest were CLA and Kerber Rose. We then decided to have oral interviews for those 2 firms. Both of them did a nice job. They both have very good reputations. But we were really impressed with Kerber Rose's oral interview. It answered a lot of the questions we were hoping to get answers for. We then, because Kerber Rose was less expensive by about 33%, it's a savings of $13,800, and we are looking to save money in the district. So we were strongly considering them at that point. So then we checked references. We contacted 3 school districts, La Crosse, who's been with Kerber Rose for 2 years, Nina, who's been with Kerber Rose for 4 years, and Brilliant, who's been with Kerber Rose for 13 years. All three of them just had really strong recommendations for Kerber Rose. The ones that switched over to Kerber Rose recently were real happy with it. We've been with CLA for a long time. They're a good firm. They've done a good job for us. But given the cost savings, the reputation of Kerber Rose, the oral interviews and reference checks, we are recommending Kerber Rose to do our audits.
Do board members have any questions of Mike about the recommendation? Okay, hearing none, I am looking for a motion to approve Kerber Rose to perform the district's annual independent audit for 3 fiscal years with 2 possible 1-year extensions, beginning with the 2025-26 fiscal year per the hour.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. All right, now you're moving into transportation routing software.
Yeah, routing software. And I've got Lee here with me too. If we have questions, he can help answer some of those. Basically, what's going on is our routing software that we're currently using is outdated. It's not ADA compliant with the new ADA regulations that are out there. It does really require replacement, and we want to do that as soon as we can. The annual cost of our existing routing software is about $53,750. We are currently using software from Tyler Technologies, but it's their old software. It's the outdated software. They have newer stuff that's better. And so we wanted to look at that. So we looked at Tyler Technologies, specifically their Traversa and Tyler Drive software packages. And then we also looked at another company, TransFinder. So our transportation department looked at both of these. They really, overall, kind of like the Tyler Technologies software better. In part probably because they're used to that company, so it could be a potentially easier transition. However, when you look at the costs, Tyler Technologies, we were able to get costs for the first 3 years. Tyler Technologies is about $40,000 more over that 3-year period than the TransFinder. However, if you look at the annual costs, the annual cost difference between Tyler Technologies and TransFinder is about $20,000. So if you look at the table year 2, that difference is $21,000 actually. And year 3, the difference is about $25,000. And we would expect that difference to continue moving forward. So we do feel that by year 5, Tyler Technologies will start to become a better value. Some key comparisons. One of the first bullet I already went over, that's that Tyler Technologies, almost really the same cost that we're currently paying for their software, and that difference is about $20,000. Some other bullet points, Tyler Technologies allows unlimited users at no additional cost, while TransFinder charges $2,645 per additional user. So we think we might have to get 6 more licenses. That's about $15,870. So already we're starting to kind of knock down that $40,000. Tyler Technologies includes 94 hours of training compared to 48 hours included with TransFinder. So if we need more training, that could be an additional cost. Tyler Technology tablet kits cost a little bit less than TransFinder. We do have 65 tablets. That's how many we need. But if we did end up needing more or needed to replace some, it would be a little bit less expensive with Tyler Technologies. Tyler Technologies includes professional installation for 25 vehicles and installation training for staff. There is no professional installation with TransFinder, so there's value in that. Software updates are included with Tyler Technologies. TransFinder charges $120 per tablet per year. That is in the quote, and that is part of the reason why the annual fee is a little bit more with TransFinder. Cellular coverage with Tyler Technologies is $315 per tablet per year compared to $540 per tablet per year with TransFinder. Again, that's in the quote. That's part of the reason why Tyler Technologies is less expensive on their annual fee. And then the student RFID cards are included with Tyler Technologies quote, but they're not included in the TransFinder quote. We have 5,000 cards at $1.95 a card. That's a value of $9,750. Again, cutting into that $40,000 difference. Plus, we do know that that difference of $20,000 per year is going to probably continue moving forward. So overall, we feel in the long run that Tyler Technologies will be the better value. And since it's the same company we're currently using, the transition we feel will be easier. It is a little bit of a long transition. It takes about a year to get this up and running. We know that we're going to have that startup cost of $151,000. So where are we going to get that is probably one of the things you're wondering. Lee and I are pretty confident we can find that in the transportation budget. We've already identified where we can get half of it in the 25-26 budget, and we feel we can get the other half in the 26-27 budget. So we're recommending the purchase of Traversa routing software from Tyler Technologies. Questions?
So I know at the meeting, you also talked a little bit about how this new technology is going to be helpful for our drivers, helpful for our families. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Yeah, I think Lee, you want to come up and
Absolutely. So the addition that we're adding to our software is called the Tyler Drive software tablets. These tablets
Wait, can you
are
come to the microphone? Thank you.
absolutely. So the tablets are GPS. The data that feeds those tablets comes directly from our routing software that the route coordinators put together. So instead of a driver on a particular route having to look at a route book and follow instructions, the tablet does all the work for them. Obviously, it's a little safer options, more eyes on the road versus looking at the software by.
And I gave this feedback at the committee, but parents have been giving feedback about, the app. So I think this is forward thinking. I think, thank you for taking that feedback and doing the due diligence. I think this is going to be a benefit for the drivers and for the families and the students too.
Also, when your child inevitably, like mine, loses their RFID card, they can be checked in manually.
The drivers have that option, yes.
Do board members have any questions? The one thing to note, because I know we talk about it, is how are we going to pay for this? Do you want to talk about that, Mike?
Well, we identified 3 areas in the 25-26 budget. We do feel we're going to come in under on contracted services. And part of the reason why we're going to come in under is that we have some staff driving school buses for us, saving us money. We do think we're going to have some fuel savings of about $25,000 that we're not going to spend.
Maybe.
That was before a week ago. And we do think we're going to have some money left in vehicle repairs. So altogether, that's $75,000. We may have some funds in other places within that budget as well by the time year end comes together. Tyler Technologies has been very flexible on how we pay this. So they're not like we want it all up front or we got to have it all at this date. We can kind of break that up and work with them on that. But we're pretty confident that we can do it all out of the transportation budget. And next year, worst case scenario is we might have to look at maybe we buy one less bus than we normally buy. There's things like that we have in mind. We haven't put that part together yet, but we'll be able to find it. And then after that startup cost, the annual cost is really the same as it's been. So then moving forward, everything should be pretty much the same.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks,
Yep.
Julie.
Okay, so we are looking for a motion to approve the purchase of Traverse routing software from Tyler Technologies with a startup cost of $151,663 and an annual fee of approximately $53,967 per year.
So moved.
Jen beat you.
Second.
Because you were so.
That was challenging her.
That was, yeah, that was impressive.
Second is good.
She would have beat you in Jeopardy like that.
Deal or no deal.
So,
This is
any
a good
other,
motion, and that's, you can beat me in a good motion.
I hope there's no bad motion.
That's true.
so, we have a motion and a second, all those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. Right, and now we have Beth. Just teacher and nurse contract templates.
You can make this motion this time. Good evening. We will be bringing teacher and nurse contracts to you next month for approval. And what we're looking at this evening is a revision to the teacher contract template, as well as the nurse contract template. We are requesting to include the language regarding the submission for signature. So we're asking that this language be added. This contract shall be null and void and of no effect unless it is signed, dated, and returned, which includes electronic submission to the Human Resources Department on or before June 15th, 2026. We've also added language to our employee handbook policy indicating the need for individuals to sign before or on June 15th, 2026. And also, we have included a notification in our Skyward system every time a teacher or a nurse signs in. They'll get the notification that they need to sign by the deadline or their contract will be deemed null and void.
Is that a different date than it has been in the?
No, it's the same date.
There any other questions from board members to Beth?
As a board, or as a school, the state statute permits if you don't issue contracts, the previous one is still in force.
Yes, but we always issue contracts.
There are exceptions. I just want to note that, how does that affect if there were to be an exception?
If we didn't issue somebody a contract, their contract would just roll.
And then this line that we added would be, because we can't roll it if we're not signing it, because we didn't issue.
Yeah.
It would just roll.
It would just roll?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if this would because this in it, would technically.
No, and we don't.
Sunrise?
I don't foresee us not issuing contracts. It's
Right.
something that we've done every year, and I foresee us continuing to do
I
that.
just know other school districts
I know.
have had these issues, and
Yep.
it's causing consternation. I don't want to be stuck and.
Right.
So I think the reality is if we're issuing a contract, if the board approves this language, if we issue a contract, the language is gonna be in there.
Yes.
If we, for whatever reason, didn't issue a contract,
Correct.
the contract would roll
And you would need a signature.
until we issued a contract.
Right.
So, we did, this past year, we did have some people that missed the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
It caused some significant issues for both the individuals who missed the deadline, and also for HR. So I think this really helps to clarify it and puts it up front and center for everybody.
Yes, and you may recall, we did just recently add it to the administrator contracts as well.
Do these, June 15th, is that a business day? Does it matter?
You know, that's a good question. I guess I didn't look at the calendar to see. I believe it's probably Monday.
15th is a Monday.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions on this?
Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve the teacher and nurse contract templates as presented.
So moved. Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed with nay? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're moving into services
committee reports, and I'm gonna turn that over to Chief Hope as the chair.
Okay, we had 4 things, and I apologize that I came halfway through the meeting. Thank you, Jim, for taking charge. 4 things, 2 things of which we'll be doing here, so I'm only gonna focus on the 2 things that are not gonna be here. We had Dana was in here talking about the Stevens Point area OLC. And there were 4 things that I noticed in the presentation. First of all, we train all our own teachers. Said 95% of the teachers in OLC are our teachers, which means that we can have better control over the rigor of the courses. And I know online courses sometimes we question their rigor, so we're in good shape there. The enrollment is increasing. We've had our high, except for the COVID year. They throw that out for data. So we're at 646 students that are taking courses. And then she went through the reasons. There's a whole lot of different reasons people take the courses, which I didn't realize. I thought, maybe it was mostly just making up lost classes or something like that. But there's a lot of different reasons, which is great. We help kids out and with a lot of different ways of taking those courses. And then she mentioned that we're working pretty tight with RVA, which is a good relationship for us. It aids our students, but it's also a come out financially good at the end of RVA. So that was the OLC presentation. Then we had Brian gave us a staff technology survey update. It looks like by a large margin, our staff are happy with what they're doing, with the availability of service and things like that. So across the board, it looked like they were happy with our tech stuff. And that's it. The other 2 we're gonna cover here.
Thanks, G.
Comment one.
Oh, no.
Just one thing on the OLC stuff. Yeah, it was informative. There were a couple things I wanna add to that. One, that it'd be nice to see, and I've talked with Jeff about this in the past, that Midstate offers online versions of dual credit classes that we technically do not in almost every case. It would be nice if we could move in that direction to the best it's possible. I know it's a very onerous process. Not gonna lay that out here, but it'd be nice if we could move that direction to allow kids that wanna get dual credit to have that option of doing it at the OLC. And then 2, it'd be nice to see a change in the way in which tests are sometimes locked in those courses. Kids do work on weekends, and oftentimes they need to get a password from their teacher or instructor in order to move forward. And that's not always done in a timely manner. And so as a parent and you're proctoring and you've set aside time to do that, and then a teacher doesn't respond, and now your window to do that is gone. And so it'd be nice if there would be an automated way or a way to get, if the parents are the ones proctoring, give them the passwords ahead of time so that they can say, yep, they're ready for it, let's move, and not have to wait for an email to get answered, because that disrupts proctoring time and the student time, because now they've set aside time and now they can't move forward because the teacher's not responding. So it'd be nice if we could correct that within the OLC.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Jim. I also just wanted to note, we really do take for granted Brian and his staff with our district. I mean, we are just incredibly fortunate to have the expertise that we have there, and also the customer focus on, I think one of the statistics that was brought forward was staff who are reaching out, the majority of them are receiving a reply within an hour. But the vast majority by the end of the day. And for someone who struggles with technology from time to time, it's just when you have an issue and you have, you're struggling, it's just so incredibly important, to be able to get that answer and to be able to get the support you need. So, I think the statistics were up in, the 80% of staff members, 85% of staff members saying that the service is exceptional. I mean, it just, so anyway, thank you, Brian, to you and your staff for providing that service, because we all know how essential technology is to what we're doing in our schools these days. So, yeah.
Thanks, Meg. I would echo the same. No surprise there to see the customer satisfaction ratings on that survey. A lot of times their work in the technology department is unseen. So it was a good way to call out all of the good work that they continue to do and do consistently. So thanks, Brian. Next, I can tee up the first of two items that are action items from Educational Services. First is our social studies resource adoption. We had a team of approximately 27 staff that started in August. The vetting process to select a new K-12 resource for social studies, and some of them are here tonight. As they take their part of the presentation, I'll allow them to introduce themselves. Before the presentation concludes, I would just like to thank this group of individuals. We talk about sometimes work that's unseen. This is all work that happens outside of the regular workday. A lot of times these are evening meetings, or these are meetings that remove them from learning that other colleagues in the district are doing. So we're incredibly appreciative for those folks who step up and take on what is one more thing, and we know that it feels that way. So with that, I'll pass it off to Darla, and she can take on.
All right, thank you. I'm Darla Panoski. I'm the Elementary Curriculum and Instruction Coordinator.
I'm Jackie Mavon. I'm the Secondary Curriculum and Instruction Coordinator.
I'm Molly Williams, fourth grade teacher at Madison.
Chase Goldtuff, principal at McKinley Elementary.
Kelly Rohr, reading specialist and instructional coach at Spash.
Miranda Moody, assistant principal at PJ Jacobs. All right, we'll go ahead and get started and oh gosh.
Just fine, darling.
I'm not gonna hear the end of that one. Just telling you right now. Go ahead, sir.
They all know me.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So our first meeting was September 10th, and at that meeting, the entire vetting team got together. We looked over the rubric, did an explanation of the rubric, and kind of went through how to evaluate the resources. We did all that right away, and then on that same day, McGraw-Hill and TCI brought in representation from their company and did a presentation. And the teams had opportunity to ask questions of both programs, and they reviewed sample resources and then completed a rubric for each of those resources. At the end of that day, and on October 24th, we collected those completed rubrics. We also had a chance to debrief and discuss strengths and concerns about each of those programs. On November 11th, we brought in Studies Weekly for elementary, and secondary brought in National Geographic and HMH. Same thing, we had opportunities to listen to the presentation, ask questions of the programs, review the resources, and also complete that rubric by the end of that day. We also were able to debrief and discuss what we thought were strengths and concerns with each of those programs. On December 11th, we also narrowed our resources. The team voted by Google Form to narrow the 3 programs down to 2. And for elementary, we narrowed it down to TCI and Studies Weekly, and secondary was HMH and TCI.
So on the 19th then, we brought back in those 2 different resources for both our secondary and our elementary groups. They had a more in-depth chance to dig into the curriculum. They were able to show us many more things that my colleagues here will talk about. And then we went through and did a final vote to see which one they went with. And as you can see, elementary went with Studies Weekly with 66.7%. Secondary chose HMH at 60% over 40%.
For the elementary resource, we picked Studies Weekly. Studies Weekly is an innovative curriculum program for teaching Wisconsin standards for social studies in grades K through 5. Engaging, it's easy to use periodicals and online platform making learning fun. It's differentiated with multiple access points to learning. And the big part for us was the Wisconsin history is fully embedded in grades 3-5.
Other strengths that we noted were that it was customizable. We could customize the assessments that came with it. They have excellent graphic organizers that go with each lesson. There are rubrics, primary resource tools, videos, and interviews. One thing that was a big standout for us is in our second meet with Studies Weekly, they showed us this amazing interview with Ruby Bridges. That was a big pull for us just to see some of those firsthand interviews. It is aligned with DPI's suggested scope and sequence, and it is student-friendly. Whether your student is a kindergartner or a fifth grader, it was something that we all felt really confident that our students would enjoy and it would engage them.
For the secondary level, we decided on HMH, and which is a Wisconsin state standards aligned curriculum for grades 6 through 10. What was nice is our online and print materials that really provide a rigorous, content-rich learning experience for all students, which was important to us. The HMH program aligns with the Wisconsin standards of social studies, and those in 5 strands of inquiry, behavioral sciences, economics, geography, history, and political science.
So when you look at the bullet points that you see listed there, a lot of it has to do with the online resources that come with the HMH. And there are some really cool things that this program set apart from the other ones. One of those was the immersive virtual field trips. So it will actually take students to places they may not have been before. The resources for assessments are customizable and easily shareable. So if we take an assessment and we customize it to what we are learning, and then we can easily share that with all of the people on the team. So that was really great. The online platform easily syncs with Schoology, and they showed us how that was interactive and it just fit right in. And then there is a writable program that provides online feedback and assessment, and that can be used not just amongst social studies teachers, but amongst all teachers. So English can use it and science can use it, so all teachers can use that program, which I think will be really great as well.
So they give me the fun, just like at Ed Services, I get the money. So this kind of just outlines the price we have for each one of the items. So you'll see grades K through 5, Studies Weekly. I really think it's important to highlight what we made sure we got included. One of the things we wanted to make sure was that we had comprehensive professional development for our staff. Thank you. And I apologize, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. So with Studies Weekly, we've got the weekly print publication, print and digital access for our teachers, online access for students and teachers, 2 hours of online PD, and then 6 hours of in-person professional development. And that's for that $197,000. Grades 6 through 10 with HMH, that's at that $364,000. That is the print and digital teacher editions. The student online access, including writable, as was mentioned before. The student texts, we're going to have classroom sets available in our rooms. We know the value that comes with having print copies. We have 2 face-to-face PD sessions. What we're tentatively looking at there is we're going to do one of those before the end of this school year. So teachers have the opportunity to learn about the resource, get hands-on with it, and then be able to look at it over the summer. And then we'll have another face-to-face session next year. And then we have 7 online training offerings that are built into that. The other piece of this was our 11 through 12 classes. So Jackie Maybon and I also worked with that group. We let them know at the beginning of the time, we weren't going to let them know till the end how much money we could set aside. But we talked to that group at the end, and we went through and we identified with all the social studies teachers in the department what resources they felt like they needed. So you'll see the curriculum resources there are $16,000 for that group. And then the curriculum development time at $7,280. So at the bottom, the grand total we have is $585,000 for the whole costs.
Jeff, is this within what you projected?
It's actually below what we had total amount set aside, Jen. And that was one of the things Chris and I met. Studies Weekly was pretty straightforward, but I think with HMH, we had 3 or 4 back and forths in that process, just to ensure that we were getting exactly what our teachers wanted, and making sure that the price was where we felt was fair.
And our line item in educational services for curriculum adoption on an annual basis is $800,000. So we're coming in significantly below that. I think it's important to note also that all of this pricing is based on 6-year contracts for both HMH and for Studies Weekly.
There was a link in the presentation to the HMA site overview. Will we be able to access that link as board members?
We can get it to you.
We can get it to you, sure.
Yeah, we can share.
I'd love to see it.
And then, again, I want to thank everybody who was on the vetting team. As Chris mentioned, we had a large group of people there. We really tried to make sure we had technology integration specialists. We had high school teachers, middle, junior high, and elementary serving on that panel. So I just want to thank everybody that took the time out of their day to make sure that they were picking the best resources for our students and our staff. And it was a great process and some great discussions, so I just want to thank that group.
So I don't have a problem with any of the K-10 programming at all. In the 11-12, I had asked Jeff what was going to be covered, and one of those courses, I asked for the material from that course that we were asking to buy, and Chris provided that material to me. In reading the material, I found it highly disparaging towards individuals, typically individuals that have a Christian orientation, and they blame Christians. The quote was that Christians were the ones that caused, or let me find the direct quote. The Christian faith in America was a major contributor to increasing harsh attitudes to the poor, and there were a number of different items in there like that in regards to a number of different things. I am no problem voting for the K through 10 stuff. I cannot in good conscience vote for something that disparages Christianity.
Okay. In reviewing that, I mean, that's the textbook for, we're talking about the textbook for interdiversity, from what I understand.
Correct.
Which, and also, an awful lot of that is at odds with, I guess, the premise of 2240 policy of indoctrination. It is not presented in a balanced way. It is very strongly ideologically one-sided. It's at least nice that the kids can now opt out of that class, especially in the wake of Mahmoud. Although it should not be listed at all, especially in the wake of that. And how, quite frankly, radical the class is, should not at all be something that is listed as or encouraged by our counselors to be something that's required, especially it's something that our district does that is not a state thing. And so to support it further with further purchasing is, and well, I guess, and if we do decide to buy it, hopefully it at least is not kept from public view if any parent wants to come in and look at it, because getting that curriculum as a parent was, you have questions, was, I think, probably easier to get nuclear codes than to get access to that. It was a real challenge. And so if you're gonna buy the book, at least put it out there to parents that are worried about the class to say, yeah, they can look at that with no questions asked and they can see it.
And do you mind me?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what was put in there for that one, just so everybody's clear, because to Alex's point, everybody didn't see that. The idea was to buy 5 copies of the current version that Midstate is identifying for the course, not a whole classroom set that would be available. I just want to make sure everybody is clear on that. We're not issuing that out to every single student, right? We wanted to have that ability there and have it available for our teachers, because some of our social problems teachers and the the diversity class, they talk back and forth. So we couldn't in good conscience have one or two, but that's what it was purchased for, was as a supplemental resource available and provided to the teachers.
And I understand that it is a dual credit course. I respect that, but I also can't in good conscience say that this is something that high schoolers should be.
And I think it's important to note for community that are watching and maybe have not had the opportunity to review the materials, Jim, you make a good point that we do have other options available, and we do provide the opportunity for students to opt out. So this is 5 copies that we're purchasing as part of this adoption. But again, it is not required of students. They do have opportunities to opt out of the course.
We're talking just about the materials for 11th and 12th graders?
Correct. And one class right now, just
So,
intro to diversity studies.
16 to 18?
Social problems?
Correct.
Just intro to diversity.
Social problems, we are purchasing 2 classroom sets for that one. Alex had the opportunity to read those materials as well, or review them, and didn't have any concerns with social problems.
I think that was so egregious as.
And I don't disagree with you, Alex, I don't. I think though we have made really good progress in allowing students to opt out of those classes. And I think, year over year, it's clear on the forms now. And so I think we continue to do that and ensure that they recognize that they have an option.
And we continue to explore more options.
Yep, yes.
Just a point of order from a board perspective, if we want to split the motion into 2 motions, we can do that. So that is an option for the board. I want to ask a more general question, and I'm trying to wrap my brain around it because it's been a long time since I took social studies in grade school or high school. But I know with our math curriculum and I know with our ELA curriculum, one of the biggest focuses was how are we going to have continuity across the curriculum. And clearly, we're purchasing from 2 different companies. So we're purchasing Studies Weekly and we're purchasing HMH. And I do understand that, from a math perspective, I see the importance of creating a system that tends to be uniform because kids aren't having to switch. Same thing with reading, reading comprehension, et cetera. And clearly a lot of social studies is reading comprehension. But was that one of the criteria we looked at as to how these 2 curriculums were going to flow from one to the other?
We did look at it with the different ones, Meg, so we did identify examples of ones that would go all the way up and down. That was one of the things we really wanted to see, but unfortunately, we also had to tell people what really works well with our course sequencing in the classes, and that's what's very different for those of us that live in work in that social studies world, right? The sequence of classes isn't as cleanly linear as what we see in math. I wish it was. And you also don't have the same competition between all the vendors. There's much less out there for social studies as far as what we can choose from. And then you don't have those big vendors that are really, really tight. You just don't see as many of those that are K through 12.
Yeah, and I think, Meg, it's important to note also, when we think about this adoption, the beauty of, I think, curriculum adoptions now versus maybe what they were even 10 to 15 years ago is that all of the resources are aligned to the most current iteration of standards. So standards are laid out by domain, by grade level. So it provides a lot of clarity and assurance that as students move from grade level to grade level, they're meeting and they're being exposed to the concepts they need to be exposed to for that grade level. Yeah, so it eliminates some of that concern.
And the other big one, Meg, because we saw this in science, we lack a national standard in social studies. That's something with NGSS we have in science, Common Core. That's what also makes a big difference.
It's okay. No, it's okay, Alex.
Forward testing, we're tested, what, 4th grade? Fourth grade, right? Fourth grade for social studies. How is this aligned? So it's aligned to standard, but how does it go with forward testing? Or are we expecting to see that forward testing also increase, or how are we judging the efficacy of the program?
Go ahead.
A forward exam is written based on state standards, so when we think about how students perform regardless of discipline, whether that's ELA, whether that's math, social studies, or science, we always use that summative assessment or that standardized assessment as a gauge of how students are performing. It's interesting, as we went into this adoption, overall, as a district, we perform pretty well in social studies. So we were hard pressed to say, like, this is a big problem we need to fix. It's not, but certainly we can continue to monitor that metric to determine whether or not this transition to new resources has an impact.
And just so you know, Alex, Ms. Moody has worked with it before, and there are very similar question types in that online format that would help our students be comfortable with the forward format as well with HMH.
This is a really nuanced question, and I should have asked it before, so that's like, I'm sorry. I know both curriculum are aligned with the Wisconsin state standards. Does that include Act 31, or will that be added on the Indigenous studies?
You know,
31, am I wrong? That's like an old legislation that, I was like, am I, okay. I had a panic moment.
Yeah. You know what, Liz, I will have to go back and relook at whether or not where that's included.
Okay.
I believe that based on the standards alignment that it's incorporated, but
Yeah, no, I know it's a really nuanced question, but just double checking if that may be.
Well,
I'm sorry, I should have asked sooner.
No, I know, Liz, I wish Elisa Sarston was here because she was on the panel and she's brought that one up before.
Okay.
So I do not remember Alicia raising any concerns when we looked at our standards.
She did, like, yeah,
Yep.
I trust her, so.
There was more to that than that, correct? It wasn't just indigenous, it was
No, there's a-
Hmong
Yep.
culture, and there was some other things that were
It started out indigenous,
mandated
like,
into as part of the curriculum going.
Yeah.
Southeast Asian,
Yeah.
that was all added on.
there's more, yes.
We'll confirm it.
No worries, just curious. Any other conversation? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion, and again, we have an option. The motion that was brought before us was a motion to approve the purchase of foreign supplemental social studies resources across all K-12 levels as presented. I can accept that motion. I can also accept two motions, one breaking it into K-10 and 11-12, if the board would prefer that, based on conversation.
Can I make a motion to approve the purchase of core and supplemental social studies resources, K-10?
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve core and supplemental social studies resources across K-10 levels as presented. Any discussion?
Nothing about this would stop us from voting to approve 11 and 12 as a
That's gonna
separate
come
motion.
next, if someone makes a motion.
So just so
I-
clear.
I would, I was gonna say I would ask to do the original motion first, but then that would negate the second.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So so point of clarification, so K through 12, when we're talking about what you are concerned with, it's not new material, but it's updated material for those particular classes.
Correct.
So then we would not then have curriculum for those sitting outside of those classes with your motion. We would not approve it. Is that
Would
accurate?
not have money to pay for them to.
So in this motion is strictly K-10.
Correct.
And then we'll be able to have a conversation about 11-12.
Well, I would,
Yeah, this is good.
I appreciate your personal opinion, you know. I didn't have any problem with the statements you read, because my feeling is by 11 and 12, you should be challenging
Oh,
students to
that was the
think.
mild statement, they also used,
Well, I
other
would,
language that was not.
no, I'm sure you picked the worst one you thought, but
Well, I read it, it wasn't the worst one I thought, it was
well, then
reading
you would have
material.
read the other ones. But I have no problem with challenging students of that age to think, and make judgments on their own and speak up in class and
So
create
I
conversation.
wanna clarify, so the motion on the floor is related to K through 10. And I'm gonna just note as kind of asking, I kind of did. I think it helps with our trust indicators because it allows us as board members to vote for what we want to vote for in unanimity, I think, and then it also allows
board members to maybe register in about a concern with a portion of the curriculum.
We're asking to separate it. No.
So we have.
Not, yeah, we're not asking to okay K through 10. And
We are
then
asking-
11, 12, we're asking to separate them first.
No, the motion on the floor is to approve K through 10.
Well, I think that's you have to separate it first.
Which is what the motion.
Which is what the
No,
motion
it's
is.
asking to okay K through 10. We're not doing that, we're separate. No, we should ask, because I would just prefer to vote on the whole thing. But now we're saying we want to separate it, but we should have a motion first to say, let's separate it.
Well, but that's not the motion.
No, we can't, we had an original motion.
But
no one made the motion,
No one
so
made
he
that motion.
made the motion.
They can later if they're interested.
So we can
Or
vote
now
on
it's-
K through 10 and then,
I don't have an issue separating them out so we can vote according to conscience. It's gonna turn out as it turns out either way, so.
I
Agreed.
kind of like your comments about doing the conscience thing too. So to me, this is just doing the K through 10, and then we'll talk about the next one next.
Exactly. If
Okay.
someone makes a motion.
Okay.
second,
So,
second,
Okay.
2 seconds, sorry.
So
Yeah.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve K through 10 levels as presented. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Now I am looking for a motion to approve the foreign supplemental social studies resources 10 through 12.
11 through 12.
11 through 12 is presented.
So moved.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion?
I like G's comment where these kinds of materials where we're challenging the students at this age group are something that we should be doing. And I like that.
That's why I asked the age question too. So
Yes.
I agree.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in, what?
Can I have an individual vote?
Sure, we'll call the roll on this one.
State the motion again.
The motion is to approve the purchase of foreign supplemental social studies resources, 11 to 12 levels as presented.
Ms. Mercer,
Yes.
Ms. Potter Nelson,
Yes.
Ms. Bushman,
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski,
Yes.
Mr. Pope,
Yes.
Mr. Liebrick,
Yes.
Mr. Summers.
No.
Mr. Lepak.
No.
Ms. Erler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work
Yes.
behind it.
Thank you all.
Great job. That we didn't see, we just got to hear
Toughen
about.
it out.
There's something going on at PJ's this Friday?
Yes.
I had lunch with Ted and G this last week. They came over to PJ's.
The spaghetti was great,
It was great.
like school.
And I know Ms. Connect, our principal at PJ's, has invited all of you to come to our Friday assembly where we honor the Never Forgotten Honor Flight veterans, and we have a variety of teacher tournaments. I am sad to say that although G worked really hard to get me to do a teacher tournament, I have said no. G.
That's not what we talked about.
I know that's not what we talked about.
Member.
You know, you have to raise a certain amount of money.
Uh-huh.
And then the students get to
Yep.
do something with the teachers or administrators, depending on how much money you raised. So I asked,
Yes, you did.
how much money do we have to raise to,
Have me go bald. And I said, there's not enough money just quite yet. So instead, not quite yet. So instead, at the very base level, so I'm at the 500 level, I'm at the very base level, right? So we are going to have egg roulette where the students will be able to take eggs and like plop them on staff members' heads. And if it's a hard boiled or a real egg, we're not sure. We don't know.
yours?
Yeah, you can come, you'll see it. It'll be great. Fairly certain that
$500?
the deck might be stacked, so all of mine are not hard. Not just that. I know it is good for my hair. And then at the very highest level, Miss Connect and one of our English teachers, Miss Hassan. Miss Hassan has very dark hair. Miss Connect has very blonde hair. They said they would dye their hair opposite colors. So that's a very exciting thing.
What was that?
I think the highest right now is 54 is what we've raised in the past, so 5,500 I think is where we need to get for that. So, yes, so you're all invited. We'd love to see all of you there. It's going to be very exciting. Kids are stoked. They're very excited. Yeah. Yeah. All right, thank you for letting me cover that as well.
Thank you.
All right, now we're moving into the mid-year data update. We did not get to this at committee. So this is the first time it's being seen.
Thank you, Meg. Yeah, and that's correct. We ran out of time to run through this data. Again, this is, before I hop into the specific numbers for each grade level, again, these are assessments that are administered 3 times per year. They're administered every fall, every winter, and every spring to all of our students in grades K through 10. You have had the opportunity already to see the data for kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and third grade when I provided the Act 20 and CKLA implementation update. That was also at our Ed Services Committee. Before I walk through each one of the slides, Jeff and I certainly are not going to share the individual growth percentages from fall to winter, the year prior. What you'll notice on the elementary slides is that I've given the growth data from the year prior, fall to winter, because we were using the same assessment. That's not true at secondary. They were using FastBridge last year and transitioned to AimsWeb this year. So it's not an apples to apples comparison at secondary, but it is an apples to apples comparison at the elementary level. Again, I highlighted this just a bit when we looked at the K3 data for CKLA and our Act 20 update. What we really want to be looking for when we think about strength as a system is we want to be looking for those percentages of students who are scoring at or above the benchmark level. We want to see those percentages hitting that 80 to 85% mark. That is an indication that our system is meeting the needs of 80 to 85% of our students at the universal level. Every system, regardless of how effective, is going to always have 15 to 10 to 5% of students who need additional support or help. We evaluate the strength of our system based on our ability to meet the needs of 80 to 85% of kids with universal or what we consider tier 1 instruction. So I really want to draw your eyes to that as we look through the data for each respective grade level. This is English Language Arts for grades 4th, 5th, and 6th. You can see that we experienced growth at every grade level, with the exception of 4th grade, which stayed at 59%. I know that Jim likes to do this oftentimes when we look at data and points out that cohort data. So if you go across that top row on 4th grade and you look at those students in winter of 2025 are now the 5th graders in the fall of 2000. That should actually be 2026 in that first column over there.
Yeah.
If I told anybody in this room the number of times that I'd looked at this presentation and somehow still missed that, yeah, that's scary.
You're still human.
I guess so. It can happen. But we do see those percentages increasing as students advance through grades, and we do see us getting closer to that 80 to 85% marker. We have some really encouraging data to share once students get to those 9th and 10th grade levels. So impressive data there. Here, when we look at math for kindergarten through 3rd grade, we see really impressive gains here. Lots of green. Green is good. We see lots of growth from fall to winter. And we see lots of growth from year to year as well. By the time even students are getting to 3rd grade, we're seeing students scoring 71% of them meeting that benchmark standard at mid-year. It's important to note also that all of these assessments in AimsWeb are written at end of grade year level. So they are increasingly difficult when kids are only in the fall and they're being exposed to material that they're expected to master by the end of 3rd grade, end of 4th grade, end of 7th grade. That's what it looks like in K through 3 for math. We see similar growth, maybe not quite as high, but also impressive growth across all grade levels in math for grades 4, 5, and 6. Slight decline there at 5th grade. And I'll allow Jeff to chime in on 7 through 10.
All right. So 7 through 10, I mean, one of the things that I do think is important here is when you do look at these screeners and you look at the junior high level up, it's very, very difficult for us to see like consistent growth throughout the year. It's a lot of times flat. When we looked at what you guys are looking at now, so we've got, again, as Chris said, I only have up here our AimsWeb data. So if we look up here, we had 2 grade levels where we did see growth. When we compare our fall screener to winter, and then we had 2 grade levels where we saw a decline. Now, I did take some time and go back and look at last year with FastBridge. We saw 3 grade levels go down and only 1 go up. So we did see a slight increase there. That one's kind of important, but I think the one that's really important is in every single grade level, when we looked at our percentage of students who made the target for the screener for winter, we went up anywhere from, I gotta get my glasses on. We went up anywhere from 6% to 14.6%. So we saw many more students hitting our mark when we compare our fall or our winter data this year to last year. Okay, which one? Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. When we take a look at math, again, here when we look at our fall to winter data, we only see one area where we actually saw an improvement from fall to winter, which is the exact same thing we saw last year. However, to Chris's point, if you do take a look down in 9th and 10th grade, really, really hard to keep it when you're at 85 and 88%. I'm not saying that I want to see declines, but what we're really looking at is the health of our system. And, we were already achieving or exceeding that 80 to 85% marker. So that is something that I think is important. The other piece is when I compare and look at last year, we saw really similar percentages. We saw 7th grade increase. When we looked at our screener data, every other grade level was a decrease when we compare fall to winter. And in math, with the exception of 8th grade, we saw even bigger percentages in math with our jump. We were varying from 14.6 up to 32.1% increases, with the exception of 8th grade. 8th grades are one area where it was flat.
This is a silly question. Is the test grade level or is it course level? Does that question make sense? Since
Grade level.
math, okay, perfect,
grade
thank
level.
you. No, just wanted, yeah, thank you.
Is there 7th and 8th grade in the 60s, 9th and 10th in the mid to upper 80s. The 8th graders, or the 9th graders are not that much smarter than the 8th graders. What's the statistical thing there? Was the test easier? Was the 8th grade test harder?
Is there like a cohort? Sometimes you see cohorts that travel through the system.
Yeah, but there's two there.
Well, that happens, and there's also cohorts that travel through the system that sometimes struggle. I'm not saying anything about, but sometimes you have those groups that travel through.
Well, I would guess it's the test when there's two of them like that. But I also talked to some of the math teachers at the junior high. Casey Hopp was one. And he says, you see those drops, but it's, and was it Ann Butke was another one. It's the subject matter. They do some really hard stuff come winter in those grades, and you're gonna see drops because they enter new territory for those kids.
And one of the things, G, we will do is you will see that format to align to what Chris showed. As I've got that same assessment window, so next year we'll have the data from this year and comparing it, the data to next year.
You think so? You think the 8th graders are gonna jump up to 85?
I know they are.
I hope they do.
I know they are.
Growth mindset, G.
Right, right. Always the optimist in the room. Always the optimist.
Your confidence there.
I like your attitude. Yes.
I think the one thing, to just be sure we kind of focus on, like, we can look at screening data and it's really a powerful indicator of strength of our system and how students might perform when we take summative or standardized assessments in the spring. But this is moment in time data. It's all timed. It's one day. So I want to put a lot of stock in it, but I don't want to put all of our stock in it. So it is one metric that we monitor in terms of health of our system and strength of our system. It depends. Some of the subtests are only a minute. Some of the subtests are as long as 8 minutes. Some of the subtests are as long as 15 minutes.
Whole test for math and English.
The battery, it's different at every grade level. So at kindergarten, they have several subtests, both in ELA and math. Total test time for ELA is probably about 20 minutes. On the math side, it's a little bit lighter. I would say more like 10 to 12. When we get up to 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th grade, it's probably about 15 minutes for both ELA and math.
And it does vary, Alex. We've had teachers who have to spread it out over 2 days depending on making sure kids can get done.
And that's why I was like, they're sitting there, they're gonna go down if math was their second test. I'm like, no, I'm done, check out.
I'm done. It happens.
When are these taken?
They're taken, so
So like winter of the fall, taking winter of the winter?
So we begin our testing window for fall in early September, so soon after students are here. Most teachers don't give it during the first week, but they start the second week. So our window runs through early September through about mid-October.
Yep.
And then our mid-year assessment window runs through when students come back from spring break through about late January. Winter break. Winter break. Oh, sorry, winter break.
And I guess I've always wondered about that, because like kids are gone for whatever, 10 days, 12 days, Christmas, holidays, whatever. So I can understand why maybe
Yeah.
facing a test coming back in.
Yeah, and we try to give them a little bit of time to kind of reacclimate to being back in school after they're on break. So definitely don't test the day they're back. Give them a few days to remember how we do school.
The fall test is really a measure of where they were at the end of class.
Right. Or maybe
Summer
how much to what.
Yeah.
In terms of what next, we'll continue to analyze the skill-specific data from universal screening. We're always looking at how we improve our curriculum. We'll complete scheduling CKLA coaching sessions for all K through 6. Those are currently being scheduled. We're scheduled to start the first ones at Jefferson Elementary actually this week. And then we have 3 additional schools scheduled, the 25th, 26th, 27th of March. And Jeff, if you want to talk about the last 2 for secondary.
Well, and I think, G, this kind of goes with yours. So one of the things I'm really proud of with our junior high teams is, you know, when we looked at that data, we talk about it at the schools too, and they don't shy away from it. So our instructional leaders have led our PLC conversations about trying to look at what is making 8th grade so much different than what we're seeing at 7th and 9th. So they actually led some really good discussions at both groups, and they're analyzing and looking at, are there better ways for us to inform those students, try to get them a little more vested and bought in. So I was really proud of that group, because that actually didn't come from me or building principals. Like the ILs led that conversation by looking at their data. And then the second one that we had is just right now our teachers are working really hard to try to integrate some of our assessment style questions into their classroom practices. So I was at Ben, PJ's, and SPASH, and in every one of those buildings on the PD day, they were working on integrating those. So those students are getting those type of experiences, not just on the test, but built into their classrooms, which I think is really important.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Any other discussion? That's an information only item. But lots of green.
Green.
Is what we like to see, especially at this time of year.
Bless you. Bless you.
All right, so we are moving into student services. It's CESA 5 contract 2026-27.
Jamie's gonna take this one.
All right, hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey. Each year we talk about our CESA 5 contract. So CESA 5 is our regional partner that helps us with services that either we don't have in district or that would be very expensive for us to have in district and we wouldn't use to the full extent. So it makes sense to purchase services through CESA. My understanding is that you do have it attached within your packet, maybe one of the last few pages, but I'll speak toward all of that. So let's see. Second to last, thank you, Alex.
Yep.
So it is a 2-page proposal. These are estimates. You know, we're sitting in March, but this will be for the next school year, and a lot can change, but generally this is representative of what the next school year will look like, just based on year-to-year work with CESA and the services that we expect to contract for. The first service would be under their general services for operational services for approximately $3,600 for the CESA 5 district membership fee. So that provides us with access to lots of different resources, trainings, a quick question or a quick phone call here or there, consultation, just kind of the plethora of being a member of a learning organization like CESA 5, which benefits our district. The next, again, would also be under general services for professional development and program support for school improvement services. So within this, we've been working on improving especially our multi-level systems of support. So those tiers of support for all students that would intensify based on their levels of need, whether that's academic
or social emotional behavioral. So we've had support from CISA to take a look at root causes and needs and how we can continue to improve that. And those have gone into specific projects. Some of them have been looking at materials. Some of it has been improving our PLC, so that work that teams do in small groups to take a look at student data and continuously improve their instruction. So each year that can be leveraged the way that we would like. It doesn't always have to be MLSS, but just for example, that's how we've been working on continuous improvement this last year. Lots of other items are at a $0. It's not a service that we would expect to have any contracted service with for CISA 5. On the second page, it goes into special education services. Audiology is a service that we use for students who are deaf or hard of hearing. Approximately $64,856.40. Yes, right, very approximately. This is for, they use the term UOS on your paperwork, you'll see, which stands for Units of Service. So CISA, and this isn't specific to CISA 5, all CISAs use a formula to understand the student's services, what kind of services, what equipment, what knowledge does the audiologist need to bring, and that would be for any level of specialist that you might work for. So it isn't just a count of children, just because every student with an IEP is very different. And we've been working with them for a very long time for audiology. Under vision, there are two services, orientation and mobility specialist, or we call it O&M, and then teacher of the visually impaired, or TVI. Those are two different specialists who again work with us dependent on student-specific needs, students who may be blind, visually impaired, orthopedically impaired, or deaf-blind. Again, the units of service help us understand what we expect in general based on our students rolling up next school year and to remain with us, what their services would cost for per their IEP. The last item under specialized services would be our alternative education programs. Two programs that are this year we're lucky to have right here in town that are renting our service center downtown. So we have the Central Point Learning Center and the Central Point Learning Center Elementary. So they do split up students who are in that generally 5th grade and under, and then students who are in that secondary level at the traditional secondary level for student-based tuition. These are for students who have our most significant, complex, or profound social, emotional, and behavioral disabilities, who are students who need a specialized placement in an alternate setting, only working with special education service providers who are certified to work with children with emotional and behavioral disabilities. The entire day is custom. It integrates counseling or therapy-based programs depending on the student's need and the parent's permissions. Again, it's custom based on IEP placement decisions. It can come and go, but generally this is what we're forecasting, which would be 1 tuition seat at the elementary program and 3 tuition seats for the secondary program. Again, it's a little different than ours because in general they see 5th grade and up or so as secondary, or for sure 6th grade, and ours still are in that elementary. So might be a little different than what we're used to in our schools, but that's generally how they divide students. So there's a general projected cost down below, coming right under about $400,000 for this next school year, specifically $398,478 and some cents. What questions does the board have for me?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask too.
I haven't.
Oh, thank you, Corey.
Years it was less. It was approximately $217,997. And the reason for the increase is we went up in the alternative ed programming. So we have students whose needs cannot be met right here within our schools, so we resource out to CISA 5. Last year we had 1, and this coming year we're predicting 4. So that 217 is probably much higher because the students went there and we weren't anticipating that they were going to go there. So that was just their projection last year.
And that's a bulk of the cost
Yes.
in
Yes.
being here, yeah.
Yes.
All of the,
That's 200, yeah.
Yep.
Around 80,000?
Yep, got it.
Yeah, I was looking at that number too, and that's big. I mean, we get ultimately what, 15,000 a year total for a kid. It really costs us a ton to send a kid there, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the being there, but I don't know, is it right to ask them, why does it cost so much?
It's staffing. I mean, many of these kids need like one-on-one staffing.
So
Two-on-one
all these numbers are staffing, they're not things. Or they're not
Programming.
things that they buy.
Yeah, it might be things and people, but the majority,
Mostly
just
people.
like with us, would be people.
Right, I would agree with that. It's typically the staffing that make the program. CISA sets a very low student to teacher ratio to ensure that level of proactive, as best as possible support. I would say smaller amounts are spent on things like, sensory materials or break room equipment. But of course, they're a school, so they do need curriculum and softwares at times, things like that, just like we do.
Is there a way to gauge the success of their program? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
it's like,
So we monitor their progress through their IEP or individual education plan. So all those students have multiple goals, typically centered around a wide variety of skills, both functional and academic, but especially that social, emotional, behavioral skill. All those students would have a functional behavioral assessment and a behavior intervention plan, which even digs more specifically into that. And the minute the student is no longer needing that service, we work on a slow transition back. So we've had several students over the school years who've attended, and as you'll remember, this specific program has floated through some different places. It was in Wapaka and then Rapids and now again here. So they help us measure that with daily data. They take data typically down to the class period or even half hour on every single student. Goes to their parents each day or their guardians and families. And again, their IEP goals are reviewed at minimum each quarter and written progress notes to their families. But typically students like this, we're meeting monthly, bi-monthly, just because they have such intensive needs.
So I know it's like an obvious question, but, so one side of the page is general education, one side of the page is special education. So do the costs flowing under special education come out of our special ed fund in terms of paying for these students?
They do.
So, I mean, and again, clearly we're looking at more dollars here, but hopefully we are going to see some additional reimbursement from the state this year for students that fall within that category.
Yeah, and of course, it depends how we fund different pieces. So typically, like tuition, for example, we fund it out of flow-through funds. So that's a dollar for dollar reimbursement. Versus if we put it out of our general local funds, then it would be dependent on what the state reimbursement is. So there's also some puzzle piecing in how's the best way to fund each part of special education. And then, of course, as our students in special education have risen, we're required to spend a certain amount per student, that maintenance of effort. So because you have a certain number of students doesn't mean you can cut. You have to actually spend a certain amount per students and maintain that each year. And we haven't seen a decrease in students with IEPs, and certainly not needs.
Yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
I understand your point at the beginning was that this is stuff that they offer that we don't necessarily have the ability to at times, or in this case, I mean, we may have the ability, but at what cost internally if we kept it in-house? Would it be similar costs or more?
I would say more because we have to hire additional staff, which is hard to find, and that would be more than what they're charging us.
Off-site, a place to be, all the equipment, someone to supervise, all of that.
And it plays into the reality, what Gene mentioned, I agree with him, so we get 15,000 per kid in, but the reality is it never gets expended per kid, it gets expended.
Yes.
Yeah, there are some that cost 60, 70, 80,000 for one kid to educate versus.
I mean,
Absolutely.
pretty high bar to make us wanna put somebody at a different location. You
Absolutely.
have to have exhausted all other
All of our
possibilities.
options.
Exhaust the continuum.
And with this, these, 4 students, these would be like the high, on like a DPI budget, it's like the high needs one that we're itemizing the dollars that are being spent on these students, and they're being reimbursed at 36.
Yeah.
No.
Special needs.
High cost special needs,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
High cost special needs is
It's
different.
a different fund.
Yep.
Different funds, so.
And that's if you pay for local. If you use a federal grant, then that would not apply. So again, it always depends on how you're purchasing different special education services. But yes, if you're paying off of local funds, and that's not just these, it's any student who has high cost services. So for example, the minute a student,
Or something like
yes, the minute someone has an educational interpreter for ASL, that's high cost and we would be reimbursing for that. Yeah.
And that percentage.
Well, they're looking to change it each school year and we are crossing our fingers because they've,
Be 42 this year.
right,
It
and
won't actually be that.
we'll see.
It was like 37.
Yes.
Some sufficient.
Yes.
Yes.
Fingers crossed.
Are there any further questions? All right, so I am looking for, I can't find it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the
Thank you.
26-27 District CISA 5 contract for services as presented.
Second. Second.
Okay. All right, any questions on that motion? All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, and we have a couple of technology services items. Brian, the first one, desktop purchases.
So this is an informational item to inform the board about our recent purchase of desktops. This was an unexpected purchase due to some changes to Windows that instantly made 400 of our desktops obsolete, and we whittled the number down to the replacement number at 260. We went through the process of procuring the equipment with RFPs. And then right towards the end, we got hit with this crisis of a RAM shortage, which increased the cost of equipment. We got notified by all vendors that their prices were void, that they would be increasing March 1st. So we decided to make an emergency purchase and purchase up to the purchasing authority of the superintendent, which is $150,000. And we got, yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, we had 1 week to buy equipment, and if we didn't, the price would go up 35%. So we did we got what we could with that. We're gonna make up the lack of those desktops, probably by moving a lot of staff to docks. That's one solution. Just kind of going through that process, and the desktops should be settled. So that was the desktop problem, and that was, something that just we weren't anticipating, was not budgeted for, so we are taking funds that we would have purchased laptops or other equipment for to accomplish that. Laptops was planned. We were in the process of going through this very thorough evaluation of replacing these current laptops, which have been fantastic, but they're showing their age, especially with the batteries and other problems that are just going to keep happening with them, so we need a replacement. We did the RFP process. We were very encouraged because the pricing came back very favorably. I think a year or two ago, we were buying replacements in small batches, and these were $1,000. So when we saw laptops for $700, $800, it was very encouraging. And the same thing happened to us then, that we were getting right into the process of evaluation where we had demo equipment, and we were going to have staff demo some of the laptops. And then we got hit with the, price increase March 1st unless you purchase. And they weren't really threatening us. They were letting us know, hey, by the way, we can't value or honor these prices. But if you can make a purchase before March 1st, we would be able to. We did the same thing. We purchased laptops up to the purchasing authority of the superintendent, and we got 1/3 of the laptops that we need. So that will help a lot. We're planning on probably replacing laptops at one school or several schools and keep the models the same. Then we can also repurpose the best of what we have and use them elsewhere. Long term, that doesn't solve the problem, but it really helps us quite a bit. We are also planning to possibly carry over some funds that we would have purchased laptops with and make an evaluation of what the market looks like next year. It's very volatile and there's no guarantees. I've heard from vendors today that they say it may stabilize for 3 months, but then it's gonna keep going up. And by the time we go through the process that we just did, it's very frustrating. So we're gonna wait and see. If we see any indication that we can get, laptops at a reasonable price, we'll probably go through that process again. Hopefully with the same model. One thing we don't like to have is a hodgepodge of models, which makes supporting them much more difficult, troubleshooting problems and whatnot. So that's where we're at, and really it's just an informational item to let you know as a board why that occurred and why it's different from how we typically purchase equipment.
And all of this was budgeted for in Brian's technology budget.
I mean, very efficient. You went right up to 5 cents under that spending authority.
We're not gonna leave any equipment on the table. I mean, yeah.
I just say that Windows issue was very real. We had to do the exact same thing in our business, and it was very frustrating that very workable computers had to be replaced because of that exact issue.
Any further questions of Brian at all? No, thank you.
Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you. Sleep after some sleepless night.
Yeah, well, they never end, so there you go.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving into policy and legislation, and we have a proposed revision to school board policy 3124.01, letter of reasonable assurance.
Yep, so that was discussed at the committee level and approved. Beth is here to answer any questions. Basically, we just took the recommendations from Neola and updated the policy.
Do any board members have any questions? I'm looking for a motion to approve the revisions to policy 3124.01, letter of reasonable assurance as presented.
So moved. Second.
I beat her this time.
I felt bad. I will let you.
So we have a motion, a second on the floor. All those in favor with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed with nay? Motion carries. We're moving into the budget evaluation process. All right.
Meg. There is some good numbers here, so.
This is my favorite part.
Right. Actually, this is my favorite part too, because it's not always this news, but. So most of the update this month on program and budget eval is focused on the staffing process that I referenced earlier, just in terms of having completed that at both the elementary and secondary level. You see significant changes to numbers based on what you reviewed last month. So we reviewed a total of 590 positions. 544 of those we've categorized as still as is. 2 of those are remaining as frozen. There is currently, we've categorized the principal position out at PODS as frozen, and we have 1 TIS position as part of the 3-year STEM grant through Century. And that position is also to be accounted for, so we left that as frozen for now. But those are the remaining 2. That position's eliminated. You see that number increase from 29 up to 44 this month. So decision to eliminate a lot of positions through the process of attrition, both retirement and resignation. And I'll highlight those. Before we do that though, still ongoing is both the work around co-curricular program review and ELA programming review. I did give an update to the board last month just on the program enhancements that we made in ELA in terms of course sequencing. And some of the shifts that were made there. This is a relevant piece of data that I think we continue to monitor. So often we think of what's the return when we make some decisions in terms of our system and making it stronger and more effective. This is one metric that we continue to monitor. We look obviously at universal screening data, which we just looked at earlier tonight. We look at standardized assessment data. We look at pre-ACT, ACT, but also an indicator of the strength of our system is the number of students who are taking advanced placement classes and dual enrollment. I just think this trend is really impressive in terms of some of those changes we've made. We see back in 23-24, only 109 students enrolling in dual enrollment or AP classes, and that's up to 471 students if we look for what's projected for the 26-27 academic year. We talk about building the level of confidence that students need to take on that additional level of rigor, and also building an informed stakeholder group that understands the importance of earning those credits before they head off to either a 2-year placement or a 4-year university. There's good work happening, and we have some really powerful data here to indicate that changes we're making in our system are working and are having the desired impact. I did talk a little bit about some of these efficiencies that we've identified. We did do some software reductions to the total of about 56,000. We've reduced some additional costs that won't be part of the budget for the upcoming year. In other words, we've fulfilled our responsibilities for the foundational literacy skills training that was required as part of Act 20. The Mid-State Youth Apprenticeship Consortium also is $35,000 that we no longer have to pay out. That total is about $155,000. I think of this slide as kind of the stuff that we've identified. The next place that we moved to, I was able to report out an eliminated EA position that was at one of our elementary schools that we did not need to fill. This is not a full year, but this was an employee who left mid-year, and we made the decision that we did not need to fill that position. We were able to cover it with internal staff. Based on completing the staffing process at the secondary level, we've identified a reduction of 6.7 FTE. If we use roughly the figures of about $100,000 per certified staff member, that's about $670,000 in savings. At the elementary level, we had a reduction of 5 certified staff. If we use that $100,000 figure per, that's another $500,000. We will in April be able to cost these out specifically per person and give you that exact savings, but this at least gives you a ballpark of kind of what we're looking at. In just staffing, we've identified a total of approximately 1.2 million. If you remember last month when Mike shared with us kind of a challenge or a charge to save about $1 million, we've exceeded that a bit. I think what I'm cautious here, what I will caution everyone and the community watching as well, is we have made some adds. So if you recall, in December, I did ask for approval on the addition of 4K classroom teachers as well as 4K classroom EAs. And we're going to talk about the addition or the need to add potentially one more of those. That cost will need to be reconciled. So when I come back in April, I'll talk to you about this approximately $1.4 million we've identified in savings, but then what's the actual net reduction once we add in those additional or new positions that we've added?
Can we ask questions now, or do you want to wait?
How about if you wait until we're done? I'm almost done. There's only a couple slides left, so you won't have to wait long. In terms of class size, I do know that that's always a topic that comes to mind. It's also front of mind for me. When I think about staffing reductions, what kind of pressure is that putting on class sizes and the recommendations we have outlined in policy? At this exact moment in time, and again, this is only as good as the data I have today, we have one elementary section that will exceed classroom recommendations by 1 student. So it's a 4th grade classroom in one of our elementary schools. 4th grade has a class size recommendation of 28. We have one section that right now has 29 students. What has not happened in terms of those projections at this point is we've not filtered out any students who might be on a parent transfer request or a PTR that might go back to their home school. We also have not factored in any open enrolled students who may elect to not open enroll next year who might be part of that classroom composition. So again, I share this here because I think it's important to be transparent and forthcoming in terms of, are we taxing our class size recommendations that are outlined in policy? At this point, no. So that makes me feel much better about the efficiencies that we've been able to identify because we're not adding that pressure to classroom and to classroom teachers. We're trying to be as conscientious as we can about not exceeding those recommendations. I did just touch briefly here on 4K enrollment update, and I've been providing those for you periodically in the board update. You see those numbers lagging just slightly behind where we have been in the past. So we're continuing to bolster that marketing campaign, continuing to target those families to get them enrolled. We do, at this moment in time, have an entirely full section of full day 4K at Clover Whiting. That section, which we capped at 18 students, filled almost immediately when we opened 4K enrollment back in January. There are currently 16 families that we have on that wait list who listed Clover Whiting full day as their first choice. So we send those confirmation letters in early April to indicate you've either gotten your first choice or you don't get your first choice, and we will try to honor your second choice. Amber Hofferman does an incredible job reaching out to all of those families individually, oftentimes by email and by phone call or multiple phone calls, to ensure that we've really met the needs of what that particular student and that family might need. We are recommending the addition of one additional 4K classroom at McDill Elementary. We do have space available there. It's not a full-size classroom, so I would recommend that this classroom be capped at 16. That would mean we would be running a full day and a half day classroom at McDill. So we would run an AM and a PM section in one classroom at McDill, and then we would run another full day section, which would allow us to accommodate those 16 families that currently would get a letter to say, you're not getting a full day placement. We distributed the survey last fall, as you all recall. There was overwhelming interest in a full day 4K option. This data certainly supports that. We have a large number of families who would love to be in a full day placement, and we're disappointing a lot of families by not providing another full day option if we don't have this additional section. If you're thinking about cost, I know we just celebrated that $1.4 million in efficiencies. Adding another teacher and a full day EA would be approximately $140,000. If you do the math based on memory, the proposal I asked you to approve back in December for the 3 full day or 2.5 full day teachers and the 3 full day EAs was a cost of about $340,000. This additional $140,000 puts that at about $480,000 in additional cost. What we also have to factor into that, though, is the cost that we would not be paying out if those students were to go to a community site where we would pay a contract fee of about $2,975 per student. So when I do the quick math on this, it comes out to be an additional or a difference of about $285,000. So adding this additional 4K section at McDill Elementary would be a cost of about $214,000 that we wouldn't be paying out in contracts to community sites, but that still leaves us with an additional cost of about $285,000 for those additional 4K staff. That would come off of the $1.4 million in efficiencies that I just shared on the previous 2 slides. Gets us a little under $1 million. And remember, we're only in March. So we're still looking for efficiencies. I believe there will be additional staffing efficiencies that we'll be able to identify. And again, so I think we have to go into this understanding that we're not anywhere near the end of the year yet, and we continue to look for those savings. But now I would entertain any questions that you might have. Jen or G, either one first.
Chris, just on the 4K, so it states Plover Whiting's full day filled quickly. Are all the full day sections filled?
All of the full day sections at this time are filled. So Bannock is filled, McKinley is filled, Plover Whiting is filled, Kennedy is filled.
And there's wait lists for all of them?
There's not wait lists that are as extensive as Plover Whiting. Plover Whiting has the largest wait list. What will happen here is some domino. So right now, we have some people who are on that wait list for full day 4K at Plover Whiting who said, okay, if I don't have this as an option, then I'll go to Bannock. So I think we have about 4 kids that are currently enrolled in the Bannock section that are in this 16 if we're allowed to accommodate them at McDill, and they say, I'll take that. It's gonna free up some space at Bannock, and then the shifts will start. Yeah, so we'll let the dominoes fall into place.
Do you see any McDill families all of a sudden saying, well, wait, we might want full day?
Well, they do have, so McDill would have had the opportunity. We have several McDill families who have elected to go into either Bannock, and none of the currently seated 18 families that are enrolled at Plover Whiting, they are all in the Plover Whiting attendance zone. So we do have some McDill families who might say, maybe I'll come out of Bannock, maybe I'll come out of McKinley, because now I have a full day option in my home school. So some of those shifts will certainly occur.
So if there are people that are wanting to get in but can't, why are we not accommodating them? Is it space? Is it money? Or what?
Right now, it's primarily space, right? So
You anticipate will open up in the future years,
Yes.
maybe slowly.
in an ideal world, we would open another full day 4K option at Plover Whiting. But we all know what the projections look like there. So the last bullet up there, we address an immediate family need. So we have families who are interested in another full day option. But it also potentially will eliminate some of the enrollment pressures that are projected for Plover Whiting in the future. So might some of those families go to McDill for 4K and say, we love everybody here and we love this building will stay. And that would certainly help us in terms of the overcrowding that's projected up over waiting in the next few years. Yeah, that's the hope.
Back a couple slides.
You want to look at the 1.2 million in savings again?
Well, I want to look at the numbers, 6.7 certified staff in secondary and then 5 in elementary, so about 12 people, which I assume will be done by attrition, where we have not gotten to the point where we're saying you want to work here, but we don't have a place for you. We're not there yet.
No, they are all attrition.
So, that's a lot. I mean, 12 teachers gone. I assume, I know you guys work really hard at this, that you pinpointed spots. You didn't say, well, there's X amount of kids, so we can get rid of this many teachers. We know what spots we're eliminating a particular spot at a particular school.
Yes, based on enrollment.
Based on enrollment.
Can you tell us what those were?
Can I tell you what Of course, yeah. So the elementary ones, there was a kindergarten section at Bannock, a third grade section at Kennedy, a kindergarten section at Washington, a first grade section at Madison, and a second grade section at Madison.
Do we have any fewer kinder coming in?
So your third grade at Kennedy, they still have a third grade though.
They still have a third grade section, but there were 2 sections of second grade where class size recommendations are at 24. And now that class decreased over the course of the year, and now there are, I believe, 20 or 21 students only in that class. So there was no need to maintain a second section anymore of third grade.
In secondary?
At secondary, it was a 0.9 art teacher at Benton. And then there was an office EA at Spash. There was an ag teacher that was 0.6 at Ben Franklin. An English teacher at Spash. This was a 0.4 reduction due to a teacher taking a reduction from a 1.0 down to a 0.6. That was their decision. ELA PJ's 1, this was a 0.8 reduction due to a resignation. There was a PE at Spash. This is a full 1.0 reduction. Following a retirement or a resignation. There was a 1.0 reduction in social studies at Spash. There was a 1.0 reduction in science at Ben, and a 1.0 reduction in Spanish at Ben.
John?
I just want to point one thing out. Chris is 100% right on the reductions. I do want to point out, though, a lot of those reductions are spaced out over multiple school sites. Like when Corey said, it's a lot of time with the puzzle pieces we look at. So like for social studies, I will look at everything from 7th grade all the way up till 12th grade. So while that, retirement is at social studies at Spash, that reduction wasn't just there. It was happening at the junior high levels as well. So just so everybody is clear on that, we look at that holistic piece of it.
And just for those individuals that were of 0.6, 0.8, were those positions the people had 1.0 or were they at 0.8, 0.6?
So in some case, I think the answer to that question is it's different for each one of them, because in some instances there were, to Jeff's point, some of them were shared staff across multiple buildings. There were either potentially combined courses, and Jeff, maybe you can speak more specifically to how some of those efficiencies were gathered, but there was not any, it still was all realized through attrition, so either through retirement or resignation, but combining classes.
Jeff, can you come up?
Do you want to come up?
So what we would look at, Alex, is the ELA position at PJ's. That one was a partial. The art position that Chris identified, that was actually a 1.0 staff member, but we had another art teacher who was a partial, so we bumped that one up by a 0.1, so that's why that one was a 0.9. The ag teacher was, for the ag time, was the same.
So it was a 0.8.
Yep. So that would be that one. Let's see here.
Remember them all off the top.
Yep. You talked about the English reduction. That PE at Spash is one teacher, but that one is one where there's a reduction happening at Ben Franklin alongside of that. So Spash isn't taking that entire 1.0 reduction at their building. I already talked about social studies. The science one, that one's getting spread across all 3 sites. Ben, PJs, and Spash are all going down a little bit. And then Spanish, we've seen a reduction in our world language numbers. So that one is one, again, that we saw a reduction at PJ Jacobs and at Spash.
So those were the instances where sections were able to be combined.
Correct.
For existing staff that remain.
Chris and Jeff, along with principals, did an outstanding job coming up with this number of staff, and being able to do that through attrition has worked so well for us over the last 3 years.
And that's beneficial for staff, knowing that it's through attrition, right? They know, yeah.
Well, the certified at the secondary, not encroaching on our class sizes. I mean, do we have hard and fast rules for class sizes in the secondary?
We do. Our policy for secondary 7 through 12 is 30. And we don't have any classes that are currently over 30.
We have an at 30 though.
There are some that are at 30, but not exceeding 30.
Well, when I was teaching there, we would have high level classes where you might only get 8, 9, 10 kids. Do we have any of those still going on?
There are some, but there are less of them, right? We've really been trying through the budget and program eval process to kind of decrease the number of classes that we're running, and we've come up with some sort of minimum thresholds. 10 has been a number that we've kind of adhered to, but certainly there are some classes that are very specialized where there's a particular interest.
It would be nice to see, like, what classes do we have that have 10 or less kids? I don't know why, just for information's sake to see, you know.
Really easy to pull.
And then I'm sure you guys have looked at everything, like, could we do something with them, like, I don't know. Smaller schools do distance learning, or we've got the university here or Mid-State.
Now, we have some courses, we will take students from one school to the other school, like our French 2 class, students from PJs come over to Bend in the morning. So there are some things like that happening already.
I was thinking kind of at the high school is what I'm most familiar with, because I know we would have like a advanced chemistry class, so you'd have 10 kids in. And it would be interesting to see, are we still have that? And if, I'm sure you guys.
We can find that. Yep.
The only thing I do want to add, just so this group is aware, is we do identify in areas like tech ed, in areas like family and consumer science, we do have where we actually, while 30 is what is in board policy, we do have on my spreadsheets in each one of those classes, we've worked with building principals, because obviously you can't put 30 kids when you have X numbers of cooking stations, or and welding. I mean, unless any of you want to teach it with 30.
You can.
That's.
Yeah. So I did want you to know that, G, and we do look at that when we go through the process.
Familiar with this chemistry, and we have 24 lab stations, and we were right at that when I was teaching. I came back for a long-term sub about 4 years later, 30 kids popped up. We're not there, are we? I mean, we're watching, like you said, we're watching the number of stations, and to make sure we don't have 30 kids show up in a chemistry class or 30 in a welding class or something.
We ask the principals to review that every year, G.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? Well, we're moving towards the 1 million, so
We're getting there,
I
Mike.
think we're gonna be there. Future meeting dates and times, we have, April will have the 2 meetings, we have the regular board meeting on the 13th, and then, once the election occurs, we'll be sending immediately out to board members, what date they can be, that hopefully last week of April. Moving into closed session, I'm looking for a motion to go into closed session. I gotta say it out loud, I'm sorry, it's the law. 1985 C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. And 1985 E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss bargaining with the Stevens Point Area Education Association.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we need the roll call.
Mr. Summers. Ms. Bushman.
Yes.
Ms. Mercer.
Yes.
Mr. Kowalski.
Yes.
Mr. Pope.
Yes.
Mr. Liebrick.
Yes.
Ms. Potter Nelson.
Yes.